are you guys aware that we almost see no titties in movies anymore, and we only see dicks? Hey, anyone notice this? Yes, I love titties. Big old titties.
Did you like that?
I was going to say that was one of the most awkward wanks that I've ever had, but you know what? Through great adversity lie great rewards, so it was fine.
Yeah, dude. I don't know if you've heard of Lofty, but he made it for me a long time ago. And
I fully agree with your point as well about we don't see enough tits in movies anymore. Like,
dude,
what is going on there?
That was going to be the first thing I asked you, because you're an expert, you know, and I feel like you're an expert in both categories, boobies and movies. So. You know, in the 80s and early 90s, even in 2000s, it's almost like if you were the main actress or multiple actresses in the movie, you were going to see the boobies if it was rated R.
It was expected, yeah. It was just something that you did.
Yeah, it was like a coming of age thing for me, is to see the boobies. And then as I got older, now that's actually in that video, it was almost like a epiphany. I was like, wait a second, I don't see boobies in movies anymore. Where's the boobies at? And I had just finished watching The Boys. I don't remember what season. And there's just every episode, there's just a dick somewhere, like full on. Even that one dude had a giant one. That little dude went inside the penis.
I was going to say at one point you actually see inside a dick, and that's a view that I never needed in my life.
Yeah, like, and I'm like, why don't we get the inside the woman? No, we don't get it ever. It's awful.
The problem is as well, like, not only do you not see naked ones, you don't even see like cleavage or anything anymore. You used to get revealing outfits. You used to get like actresses that actually had female bodies, and you don't even get that anymore, really. So it's just there's nothing to enjoy anymore. It's taken all the fun out of movies, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
screw you, Hollywood.
Yeah, dude, it's weird because even like you said, it's almost as if. If you're attractive now in Hollywood, you won't even get cast for anything. If you're a woman, and now if you're a man, you're going to be a superhero for sure. But if you're a woman, you have to be like weird and kind of awkward looking to get cast.
Well, basically, if you're a woman, like an actress now in Hollywood, you have to have the physique of a 10-year-old boy, like just straight up and down, nothing going on there. Like that's why you remember Captain Carter from the Avengers movies, like the Captain America ones, Haley Atwell, the actress, like, man, she has got some absolutely killer curves on her, but she's never cast in anything ever.
Yeah.
There's a reason for that. She looks like an actual woman. You can't have that.
Yeah, you can't, dude. Look, I know. So I'm sure you watched, I watched your review of Last of Us, or I may be thinking about the game. It was The Beautiful Disaster. I think it was Last of Us 2, actually.
That was the game, yeah. That was the game, Last of Us 2.
Speaking of Last of Us in general, the show, you know, I enjoyed a lot of it. A lot of it was kind of weird, but I kind of enjoyed a good portion of it. But for me, and now keep in mind, we come from different like realms. Like you're like a writer and you're accomplished and you're a very intelligent man. I am just a trailer park guy, and I'm very, very surface level, I feel like. And,
don't let any of that delude you into thinking I'm some kind of sophisticated connoisseur, man. Like, I'm just a dude from a shitty town in Scotland. Like,
it was like the same thing. I'm from some shitty town in Alabama. It all works out. But with Last of Us, this is going to sound real mean and assholey, but I always have to like regurgitate this every time I talk to anybody about Last of Us. I feel like the reason the first game was so successful is because of the contrast in the characters. You have the old white dude that's bearded, tired, set in his ways, and stubborn. And then you have the young girl, and she's full of life. She's enthusiastic. She's, finally out of the institute or wherever she was. She's seeing all this stuff for the first time, but she's still optimistic about the future, which is the complete polar opposite of Joel, in my opinion. And Joel is old, rugged man, and she is an adorable girl that's like starting life, and it's a really weird contrast, right? It's like youth, old, cute, burly. It just worked well. And in the show, Pedro Pascal has that look, and he kind of acts that way. He's doing a decent job, but Bella Ramsey looks like Sloth from the Goonies, and it doesn't translate it like takes me out of it. It de-immerses me. You know,
I think there's two aspects to that. It's one, Bella Ramsey as an actress, like just she doesn't look anything like Ellie from the games. Whereas Pedro Pascal can kind of pass as Joel. Like there's definitely a resemblance there. With her, it's like, well, she can't help the way she looks, but like the way she looks doesn't look anything like Ellie. And two, the way they've written the character is, instead of having that vulnerability that Ellie had in the games, where she's like an interesting combination of like defiance and fieriness, but also like compassion and vulnerability, and the optimism of youth, like you say, and just the enthusiasm of like seeing the world for the first time. That was perfectly balanced in the games, but here it's like they're so desperate to make her a strong, empowered girl boss right off the bat that you lose some of that vulnerability, and it affects that dynamic in their relationship. So instead of him starting off up here and her down there because she's not experienced in the world and doesn't know how to survive or whatever, and it gradually evens out, it starts off more like level pegging. She's already a really dominant personality and everything, and it just kind of like switches from there. Like she just gets better and better. He just like gradually falls away. It's not as interesting. It's just it's them. Just they can't have her show any weakness on screen. It's not allowed now.
Yeah, it seems like, for example, you've watched the show all the way through, yeah?
Yeah.
So there's the one scene where she goes and like she sees that zombie laying on the ground or whatever, and she goes and stabs him in the face, and she has like no like fear nor remorse or anything. She's just like, I'm a badass already. And
there's some weird stuff there where I'm not sure what they were going for in terms of the show. Like it's the same in episode 1 where Joel loses his shit and he attacks a Fedra guard and beats the man to death, and she just is standing there watching him with this really bizarre expression on her face. Again, I'm not sure what the directors are trying to show us about her as a character, and I don't know if some of that is just the actress not having a fucking clue what she's doing or not being able to convey the right emotions, but it's like she's just watching him like, yeah, I'm into this. Yeah. And it's like that really shouldn't be how Ellie reacts to something like that. It should be horrified and terrified of Joel because he's a violent killer. But that's not what you get from the show. It's a weird choice.
Yeah, the whole show is weird. I want to talk a little bit more about that, but because for some obvious reasons. Karis, with the first and only super chat, says, like the success of new Star Wars, the world isn't that big. Fantastic to see Drinker here. Thank you so much, Karis. I love you and I appreciate you. Oh, by the way, Karis and everybody watching, I don't know if Drinker's doing Fight Milk, but I am doing Fight Milk tonight. So get ready for that, bitches. I appreciate you. I love you. Make sure you like that.
If I can find milk and egg like for this, I'll try.
Okay. Or if you have any, what did Melanie Mac do it with? G Fuel and eggs, which sounds way worse in my opinion, but she did it. I don't know why.
Can I do it with Jack Daniel and egg? See how that
there
goes.
There you go. That works. Yeah. Appreciate you guys. Make sure you like to stream in honor of Drinker, even though I still have the goal set for 100 less than we're already at. Thank you, Karis. I love you and I appreciate that, dude. Don't forget the whiskey. I got it right here. I don't know where it is. I got Woodford Reserve. I've upgraded slightly to Woodford Reserve instead of Jack Daniels. But speaking of Last of Us, I feel like it's depending on who you are and how you feel about it. So episode 3, I enjoyed. I thought it was a beautiful story and well written and well acted, but I feel like it was so damn long. It could have been shorter. I even said, now I could be wrong about this, but I feel like if it was its own standalone movie that had nothing to do with Last of Us, it might have been better received or more well received. What do you think?
I think its biggest problem was that it came at the wrong point in the show. Like, we were only on episode 3. We'd barely had any time with Joel and Ellie. Like, we needed to cement their relationship as two characters to really figure out where they're at, where they're heading to, how they relate to each other. And just as that was starting to kick in after what happened to Tess, like suddenly, boom, we're thrown into a flashback with two completely different characters. And Individually, I think it was a really strong piece of writing. The acting was fantastic. Like, I defended the episode. I just feel like it came at the wrong time in the series. It probably should have been around episode 5 or 6. And yeah, the fact that this isn't a long series, it's only 9 episodes, and 2 entire episodes are basically given over to flashbacks. Fleshing out backstories to characters that aren't around anymore. And that's a hell of a thing to do when you don't have much real estate to play with. I would much rather have seen more time developing the relationship between Joel and Ellie, maybe giving us a bit more of the infected, because damn, I forgot they were even a thing after episode 5. They just kind of vanished. Again, we needed more of that.
Yeah.
So that's what I'd rather have seen rather than this stuff.
Dude, I didn't even think about it. I didn't even think about the fact that you had just 2 episodes of Joel and Ellie, and then you just didn't have any more for like an entire episode. And then I don't know. I didn't finish it. I think I got to episode 6 or 7, but I don't know. The characters, a lot of it felt forced. The weird like commune area, a lot of the dialogue felt forced. That Kathleen character, I couldn't stand her. I thought she was just an awful idea. The actress and everything was just terrible.
Is that the woman who's like led the rebellion, and so she's like out to hunt them down?
Yeah, and even her bearded man that is her underling for some reason keeps saying, "I don't think we should do that, Kathleen. That seems like a bad idea." And she's like, "No, we're going to do it anyway." And then they all just die because she makes the worst decisions possible. Just seems...
Yeah, I mean, I guess the show kind of grapples with the fact that she is a crap leader, and she shouldn't have been in charge of this rebellion. Maybe it's just that she finished the work that her brother started. I think that's what the show tries to imply. Like, he laid the groundwork for the rebellion against Fedra, and she's the one who saw it through. But then, she didn't really have a clue what to do afterwards, and look at the result. Everyone just got killed.
We're just gonna hunt this kid down for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah, so not a great character. I think some of it was down to the actress just playing her like a middle school teacher or something. She was just like really homely and didn't really convey much threat or charisma or anything. And you think, well, how did this person become a leader?
That's what I said, dude. I'm like, well, why are you here? Like, if this was the real life, like let's say it's you, okay, it's a drinker, and you're in a post-apocalyptic world, and you're in the city of people, and you're the second in command. All right. And look, your perception would change if you're in this situation. You're the second command. You got a big old spaz shotgun that can blow somebody in half. And you got this tiny little lady that's like making terrible decisions. And she's like, tells you to shut your mouth. I'd be like, yeah, I'm just going to blow you in half. And then I'm going to be the leader guy now. Like, wouldn't it?
It's a brutal world in The Last of Us. And yeah, people, when you're on the knife edge of survival, you can't really afford to pander to people who aren't doing their job properly.
Yeah.
And so I think you probably would have seen that pretty quickly.
Yeah. It just felt weird. It's kind of why I didn't really care for the second game that much, because it felt really strange that every single character that was like a main character that was like fist fighting people and killing all these people and progressing the story was all just like a small woman, except for Abby, of course. But
yeah, she was most definitely not small.
Yeah, but like,
God knows who they're going to get to play her in the season 2.
I hope it's The Rock.
He's going to have to bulk up a bit if he wants to play that role.
The Rock Johnson as Abby. God, yeah. It was hard to get immersed into the second game because you're beating everybody's ass as like a 110-pound small woman, and then after you killed like 100 people in a building and cleared it, and you're progressing through the story, like right after you just slit some dude's throat, you walk outside, and then there's this weird dialogue where like Dina is like, "It's really beautiful out today, babe," and she's like, "Yeah, babe," and I'm like, "What the fuck?" You killed like 100 dudes against all odds, John Wick style somehow, even though you weigh like 90 pounds. And, it all felt really silly, and I just couldn't get into it. I love the first game, though, but I just couldn't get into the second one.
I think, honestly, one of the strangest moments in that game was when you go out on a mission as Abby, and a heavily pregnant woman comes along with you, and she's, like, leaping across, like, big steel girders up above in some ruined factory, and, like, hitting a wall and climbing her, like, pulling herself up. And I just thought, yeah, show me a heavily pregnant woman that can do that, or that would even want to do stuff like that. Yeah. It's like, no, I want to be like safe and back at base so I can give birth and like move on.
Yeah. Billy Hatcher has a good point. He says the fact that they had 2 filler episodes seems to be very boring. And filler episodes isn't an issue really per se, but it is an issue when the entire episode is just this random flashback or something, or a completely filler episode. And there are episodes like that in other shows. Like, what's a good example? That one about the fly from Breaking Bad, where Walt is just trying to kill a damn fly for like an hour. Yeah, I mean, they exist, but if they're well done and they, pertain to the story in some way, shape, or form, or progress it in any way, shape, or form, I feel like they can be done. But keep in mind, one of those filler episodes were very far and few in between in like big series like Breaking Bad.
Well, I mean, filler episodes work a lot better when you had the old days of like 22 episode seasons where there was just a lot of real estate to play with.
Yeah.
And that was a very different world. Like, Stargate SG-1 could have filler episodes because you had so many episodes to play with.
Yeah.
Now it's like, you've only got 9 and you've got to tell a fairly big story. Like the game takes you about 20 hours to get through if you're playing like fairly, rapid. And you've only got 9 episodes. They're about 45 minutes each, so that's nowhere near like the amount of plot that you had in the game. So you have to be pretty efficient with it, and to use up 2 of those episodes just to do flashbacks, particularly episode 7, which is just DLC. It's not even part of like the first Last of Us game. That is, that just smacks of narcissism, really.
Yeah, and it's all Neil Druckmann's fault, in my opinion. Everything is Neil Druckmann's fault. But it's like you said, like X-Files, for example, could totally have filler episodes because there's 24 episodes per season. But when you have 9, they all better be very impactful and very story driven and move the plot forward in some meaningful way. Because if they don't, then why are they here? They're like, that's a good point for the 3rd episode too, because it's like this love story that's just constant and long. And although it was done well, I feel like it was just too early on. And there should have only been 1 episode like that, and it should have been half the length. Like it popped in with Joel and Ellie and then popped out with something else, then popped in and out and came back and forth, so it was showing what was going on modern instead of just hours and hours. Because I like I said, I enjoyed the episode, but it's like you said, it was just too early on, and there were some times where it got too sexy, just too sexy. I was like, all right, like, you guys
too
are like,
much sex.
There was just like their beards are touching, and I'm like, I don't know what it is about beards touching, but it just hits me weird. It's like,
you know what's weird though, right? The guy. Not Bill, but the other one, Frank. The actor that plays him, I thought he would have been a much better Joel than Pedro Pascal. Like, if you look at him, he much more closely resembles Joel, and I just thought, damn, that's a missed opportunity right there. I mean, I guess, he's not as big a name as Pedro Pascal, so, that's why they went with him, but...
Yeah. Thank you, Holy Ozone, by the way. He said digging the sunglasses. I would wear mine, but... yeah, I got used to wearing them actually because it actually works really well with my lighting because it's so damn bright. But then I lost them again, so now I just don't have them again because I keep doing that.
Well, the thing is, I don't actually have eyes, so like this is just,
Tony,
just to hide that fact.
Tony says, "Please tell me Tatiana is a real person. If not, I'm gonna unsub."
Yeah. Tatiana is a person I've had experiences with.
We all have a little bit of Tatiana's in our life. Cassius Cleo says, Drinker will drink the Fight Milk top-notch videos from you, the both of you today. Thank you so much, Cassius. I love you and I appreciate you. And thank you for the giant, delicious pink boy. It's my favorite color to have on my face. And I really appreciate you, Cassius. You're goated as hell. But dudes, enough of the goddamn. I'm tired of Last of Us. Tired of talking about Last of Us because it just makes me angry. I thought after watching the first 2 episodes it was going to be so great, and it just kind of fell off. Every episode just fell off slowly, more and more and more. So tell me how I always like to cover this before it delves into chaos. How did you start YouTube or content creation in general, and was it completely random like it was for me, or was it you just started making stuff and it just started happening? Like, how did it start?
Okay, it's a bit of a story, but I'll do my best to make it concise. So it started like way back in like 2010, I think it was, like, and it's just random. I just had an interest in hey, this whole YouTube thing seems to be popular. I'd like to have a go at it. I'd like to learn a little bit about video editing, and just give my thoughts on some things. So, like the very first videos I did, it was like the roughest, crappiest content imaginable. Just me in front of a webcam, just talking away, wasting a lot of time. Gradually learned a little bit about editing, how to jump cut, or how to like put other things into it to kind of like build up the pace and stuff like that. But while I was doing that, I was also trying to get published as an author. Like I'd gotten into writing books, and I was really like interested in storytelling. It's something that I'd always wanted to do. And luck shone on me, and I got my first publishing deal, I think, in 2011.
Hell yeah!
And the way I figured it, like I couldn't, be given 100% to being an author and trying to also get a YouTube channel off the ground. So I had to pick one, and so it made more sense to just focus on writing for a while. And so that's what I did, and I ended up publishing like 9 novels over the next like 7 or 8 years, which was lovely stuff. But then, eventually we came to the modern era of filmmaking, right? And I think you probably know this yourself. We got movies like Ghostbusters, we got like The Last Jedi, and all of these just garbage movies that really told me like, oh, filmmaking's not going down a good path right now. And I wanted to start talking about it a little bit and pointing out some of the problems as I saw them. And I thought maybe I can use the things I've learned as a writer and a storyteller and apply that to my analysis. And so that's what I started doing. And luck would have it, I maybe had a few drinks before I did one of my videos, and I was slurring my words, and I just decided to lean into it, and I had that video just absolutely blew up. I went from getting like, I don't know, 3,000 views per video to 1 million.
And this is this, you said it's Last Jedi? Is that what it was?
No, I think the video that took off for me was one about Captain Marvel, which was just a big thing at the time. It was like 2019.
Yeah.
Because again, there was just such a circus around it. It was just fun to like meme on it a little bit and just play on this idea that like, hey, guess what? We actually had awesome female characters from previous decades as well that everyone's conveniently forgotten about. This one superhero isn't the be all and end all. And that video just exploded, man. And so that's what started my channel, like, for what it is today. That's how I got into it.
Okay, so this is gonna sound super gay, but look, I have to say it. So I was I used to play WoW, like World of Warcraft, and I would be farming, and I would have your videos just on autoplay. And, it's pretty gay, but us creators watch other creators, man. This was actually before I ever started YouTube. I think you started right before I did, and I remember I think it was Justice League was the one that sticks out in my mind. It was like you had like a 2-part Justice League, like thing, and it was the zooming in on Henry Cavill's CG mustache, and it's like that scream voice from, I think, is it Event Horizon? Is that the name of the movie?
I think so. Yeah.
It's just screaming it. You did it like 4 times in the freaking video, and I laughed so hard every damn time because it's freaking. Oh my god!
There's something about that face. That CGI Henry Cavill face that just genuinely makes me laugh every time. It's just so weird and uncanny and unnatural. It's just brilliant.
Yeah, and I totally stole it one time. So I didn't ask your permission, but
it's okay. I'll forgive you.
I did a video about Subway, like Subway sandwiches, and it was about the guy that used to be the spokesperson. I don't even remember his name now. And he got arrested a long time ago for some really heinous stuff. And Jacob Fogel, and I referenced him, and then I zoomed in slowly with the Event Horizon scream. And of course, I had like 100 comments that were like, "So you watch Drinker, don't you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I do." I stole the hell out of it, but I only ever stole it once. But yeah, that was, dude. I played WoW, and I would just have them on. And then I ran out. I watched all of them, and I was like, "Well, shit!" And now I have to wait like every so often for you to pop one up. And also going to sound super gay, but I don't watch. If I'm on the fence about a movie, I wait for your video to come out, and then I watch it. So you said Megan was great, and I was like, "Well, I'm going to go see Megan." Yeah, because Lofty said it was terrible. My buddy Lofty, and I usually do it the opposite of he says, because he has terrible taste. So, but then your video came out like the next day, and I was like, all right, well, if Critical Drinker likes it and Lofty hates it, I have to see this. And I loved it. I was like, this is great. And That's pretty much how I go, because I don't, like, people say, oh, so and so has 100% Rotten Tomatoes like critic score, and I'm like, dude, I haven't looked at critic score in years. I look at the drinker score every time, and that's all I care about.
That's the thing. Nobody looks at the critic scores anymore because they've just become meaningless. Like they're basically paid shills. With something like Megan, that was really fun. It was obviously meant to be a bit of a satire on horror, so it just plays on a lot of the tropes. And it was good fun if you take it like for what it is. Malignant was like along a similar vein, but I think Megan did a much better job with it. So,
dude. The crazy thing about Megan is it reminds me, and it doesn't exactly remind me of Child's Play. There's some parts that do, but the thing that most reminds me of it is the practical effects being so great. Like, you don't see that stuff anymore. If I watch Child's Play, because I usually watch it once a year, and I think Child's Play is a fantastic film, even today. And I'll go back and watch it, and the practical effects are so good that it like still makes my skin crawl. There's a scene at the very end of the movie where Andy is crawling back, and like the charred, burned, Chucky doll is walking towards him with the knife, and it's like a little person, but they use perspective, and it looks like the doll, and it's moving perfectly anatomically correct because it's a person, and it looks like a nightmare fuel. And I wait for that scene the entire movie. I just slowly wait for the scene to come, and then it's like a 2-second scene, and I'm like, woo! I love it. It's just, and you don't see that anymore. Everything's just CG out the ass. And to come full circle, even boobies are CG'd. You ever, like, if there's like a high like profile actress, when they get naked in movies, their boobies are like, and like their bodies are either stunt doubles or CG. And I'm like,
well, I know they did that with Cersei in Game of Thrones because the actress didn't want to get her kit off, so they just had to awkwardly CGI her head onto a model's body who clearly had a totally different physique from her. It's a shame. Like, man, show us them boobies and make them real. God damn it.
Dude, every dude has to get naked. I take my shirt off almost every stream. Now, granted, I work out every day, so but
I can tell from that intro.
Dude. So I was looking for a picture for you on Google. I always go to Google Images because why not? And I was like, critical drinker, and like the 5th image is just you shirtless in a towel.
Oh Christ! Yeah, that was from that was when I was on holiday in like Cyprus or somewhere like that, and I got totally sunburned.
You're just like shirtless, and I'm like, I could use this.
Do it.
Who's this shirtless man? Yeah. But yeah, I just I miss the 80s, man. I miss seeing boobies every single movie, or watching. That was almost like a trope when you watched Nightmare on Elm Street or something to that nature. It's just boobies, and I'm just like, this is great.
Well, even an action movie, there would often be a random scene where they like bump into a couple like having sex, and the woman would just be like, properly topless, and you get to see whatever you wanted to see. And it was just part of the fun. Like, they knew the audience that they were catering to. They knew that like the people going to be watching this movie are probably going to be guys in their 20s and 30s, and like there's not going to be a whole lot of women watching it, and so we're just going to cater to them. But now it's like this weird mentality where you have to try and make a movie that appeals to everyone, and so you don't want to risk offending anyone, so you can't have any nudity in that.
Dude, so I've talked to a lot of women on panels and shows and streams and in real life, and you say, well, we're catering to young men, and that is true. That is 100% true. But there's almost a byproduct that people don't realize is women also love naked women. I've noticed. Like, every girl I hang out with is like, they want to see women naked. They like, so I think it works both ways. Like, everybody wants to see everybody naked, I feel like. And now the reason I say that we see dicks all the time, dicks are not attractive. So there's nothing like...
Yeah, a lot of women have said that. It's like they're fine with guys from like the waist up. It's like, a properly muscular guy they're fine with, but they're like, the dicks, nah.
Yeah, why would you want to see like an arm coming out of somebody's pelvic region? Like, you want to see a nice bikini gap and just smooth, nice lady figure. Because I think that's the whole point of women is, women are like, they're the object of beauty, whereas men are the object of like masculinity, So we gotta kill things and conquer things, and they nurture and they look great doing it. That's the whole point. So just give me more naked chicks in movies. That's all I need. in my life.
I would say so. Yeah, I'm fully in favor of this.
So you said have you announced yet if you're going to certain cons in the U.S.?
When things are 100% confirmed, then I'll make the announcements because right, I've had a few bad experiences with this where there was like 1 or 2 cons where it was like, oh yeah, don't worry, you're booked in for this and we're gonna have you there. It's gonna be great fun. And then I make the announcement and then suddenly it's like radio silence. It's like, oh wait, there's been a miscommunication. We don't have a table ready for you. You can't come. And so I don't want to be an asshole who announces things and then I pull out or whatever because like people behind the scenes have messed up. So yeah, I tend to wait until it's like signed in blood.
Yeah, the one convention I had last year, they didn't give me any of the information for the convention until like 2 days before, and it was like across the U.S. And I'm like, am I coming to this? I'm like really nervous, like I don't know what's gonna happen. And then like last second, everything came in, and they were like, all right, cool. And I'm like, oh my god, it was very nervous. I'm the kind of guy that likes to plan like way in advance. So when it's when they didn't send anything until like the last minute, I was like, I already had plane tickets and stuff, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same. Like for me, obviously I've got to travel internationally to get there if it's a con in America. And so like, I need flights, I need hotels and everything. I can't just like show up and buy my own ticket, So
how are you going to even call like the escort services and schedule these things out?
Yeah.
I need 3 different color hair.
Minimum 3.
Yeah. And one of them has to be fat, but she's just gonna stand in the corner and watch.
Yeah, I'm just gonna shame her.
Yeah, we're gonna shame her.
Make her wear like a paper bag on her head.
Yeah, we'll pay her. I'm gonna pay her, but we're gonna shame her the whole time. That'd be wild as hell. I feel like I'd be okay with it. You actually don't. You just gotta stand there. I'd be like, oh well, this is actually like a bonus. If I was an escort, like, I mean,
it's like it's money for doing nothing, really, isn't it? So
yeah, so that's better. I mean, now I guess depending. So I was at the strip club once, and it was in Vegas, of course. And this stripper kept coming and hanging out with me, and kept like saying she wanted to, do things. And she was like, "Hey, for $100, I'll, suck you off." And I was like, "Well, I'm married, ma'am," because I was married at the time. And I was like, I'm married, I'm sorry. And she's like, okay. And then she comes back and she's like, how about like we go in the back and we have sex for $100? And I'm like, again, I'm married, so no thank you. And then she goes off, and about 45 minutes later she comes back. And this was the first time I've ever been to a strip club, by the way. And and now keep in mind this is in Vegas, so this lady was over the top attractive, soft. She was so soft, and she was like, she kept calling me Alabama because of my voice. And she's like, how about, we're just going to do it for free because I think you're cute. And I was like, no, ma'am, I'm married. And she grabs me like by the hand and drags me to the back and then tries to do things. She tries to have her way with me. And I end up pushing her off me and leaving. In retrospect, after my divorce, I regret all this. I should have just done the thing. But
that's a hashtag Me Too moment right there. Yeah. She took unfair advantage of you.
Yeah, and then it was wild. But dude, Vegas is wild. It is a wild place. You ever been to Las Vegas?
I have, yeah. I was totally like penniless at the time, so I didn't get to have like a great, gambling experience and stuff there. I had to be a bit careful with how I spent my money, but it was a hell of a place, man.
Oh my god!
I will say as well, like if you're like strip clubs, Eastern Europe is wild. It's like the Wild West.
Eastern, like Turkey and stuff.
No, like, well, if you go to like Poland or the Czech Republic or Romania, places like that.
The Czech Republic, man. If you just type in Google, maybe not on Google, maybe Bing, and you're just like amateur whatever, it's just nothing but Czech women all the way down. I guess the laws.
They are. I don't know, man. They're just built differently. They're all about like my height. They're like 6 feet tall. Like just bodies like athletes, like absolutely stunning.
God, I love it. That's like my thing. I love tall women, and everybody's like, "Why?" And I'm like, "Dude, I can't explain it, but having to get a ladder, it makes it. I don't know, something about it, and it's weird because all I ever end up with, like, as girls I would date for a short period of time, was it's always the same, like 5'4" little dainty girl. And then like once in a blue moon, I'll meet like a girl that's like 6'1", and I'm just like, oh, like I love you.
I've only like, because yeah, most of the girls I've dated have been tall, but not like as tall as me. So like maybe 5'8", 5'9".
Yeah.
But yeah, I did once date a girl, like if she was wearing heels, she'd be taller than me, and that was a weird fucking experience to have to like tilt your head back to kiss her.
Yeah.
Never experienced that before in my life.
I kind of like it because it's just like it's just even more. It's like they mean more.
It's more women.
There's just more of you. You know what I'm saying? Like, so yeah, I dated a girl once, and she was a model out of Atlanta, and she was 5'11". So when she would wear ridiculously huge heels, and she'd be like 6'3" and just towering over me, and I just loved it. I loved every second of it. Like, I'm just like looking up at her. We go to the club, and it's just, I don't know. I felt like what is the word? Secure. Because she's just so large. Like, no one's gonna come up to her and take her from me because she's taller than me. But because I'm 5'11". Are you about 5'11"?
No, I'm 6'2".
6'2". What the hell? Why is everybody 6'2"?
I don't know, man. It's weird because people meet me like at conventions and stuff, and they're like, "Holy shit, you're fucking tall." And it's like, well, you know, it's just the way I was born, I guess.
It's frustrating because every content creator I meet is 6'2", and I'm used to everybody being, 5'9". I guess it's an Alabama thing. I don't know. So I'm like, oh yeah, I'm always taller than everybody. And then I go to a convention, and Nick is 6'2", and Flash is 6'2", and everybody is just 6'2" across the board. Andrew is 6'5". It's like everybody's huge, and I'm like, why am I a baby? Why am I a baby? I'm manly. It's just frustrating. I just but when it's women, I'm cool with it.
Thing is, right, if you'd be right at home in Scotland, right, you'd be towering over most people here because like that combination of like terrible diet and poor weather, like it just stunts people's growth. So like the average height for a guy here is like 5'6" or something. Yeah, you could be a giant.
Terrible diet and poor weather.
Yeah, it is, honestly.
Dude, okay, so I grew up in a trailer park. And it was a nightmare. Thinking back to it, there's kind of something nice about it and charming, but it's like a Nintendo, like an NES's graphics. But how was growing up in Scotland? I know it wasn't unusual for you, but like, can you explain it to me as if it would be unusual for me?
Like what's the best way to describe it? It's like everything's small. Like your worldview is small. Like everything around you is just kind of small and contained and boring. Because like the environment I grew up in, man, it's not like it was like the inner city in London or something like that, where there's like crazy gang violence going on or anything. It's just kind of, I guess, just a bit dull. And you get people try to beat you up and stuff because like, there's always rough areas. But I think the mindset of people was just like very like insular and self-contained. And I don't know if it's like that if you grow up in like trailer parks or something as well. But it's just like, what we have and like the world within like a mile of where we live, that's like our world basically, and like whatever's beyond that doesn't matter. So that's the mindset you had growing up in Scotland, in that kind of environment.
It kind of feels the same. By the way, speaking of the devil, Yellow Flash pops in the chat and says, "You're taller than most guys." Flash, I love you. Thank you. He's so nice to me, man. Well, me and Flash will be at the bar, and he's like, "I love you, man. You're like a brother to me." And I'm like, "Well, goddamn, I love you, Flash." What's up?
We all get to that stage of the night,
yeah, dude. So I guess growing up in the trailer park, I think my worldview was kind of not as contained because I was always like, man, I can't wait to travel like the world when I get older, and I still never have. I've traveled the U.S. and I've been, like Mexico, been to Canada, but I've never really done anything other than that. And I was talking to Disparu about this the other day, and he said that Europe is kind of similar to like states, as where like he said in like an hour or two you can be in France, and then in another hour you can be over here. And the weird thing is the culture is so vastly different in these areas, and in America it's kind of all the same. It's weird.
Yeah. I mean, look, I imagine Alabama, for example, is going to be different from New York in terms of
very
like,
different,
the culture and stuff. But like, you're still all Americans, like, and that unifies you. You speak the same language, you eat the same food, all that sort of thing. But like, yeah, within Europe, it's very different. And yeah, like I could get on a plane and 2 hours, I can be in Germany, or I can be in Poland, or I can be in France or Italy or whatever. And they are vastly different in terms of their culture. And, obviously there's more history there. And so like you go to cities that are like 1,000 years old, all that stuff is great. It's just a different experience, I suppose.
Yeah,
but like for us, like here in the UK, like America was always this like awesome, like exotic, glamorous place. Because you saw it in movies all the time, and it's like everything was always action packed. People were driving massive cars, and like everyone seemed to be like tanned and rich and just awesome. Yeah, everyone had guns, and it was just like everything that you looked up to as a kid. It just seemed amazing.
Yeah, and now that's probably changed in the last 8 years. I feel like maybe perception, but yeah, dude, it is, and now it is pretty badass. So like, we do have guns. I have a bunch of guns, and they're great. So, and like I was talking about before we went live, like I race in like a goofy minor NASCAR like oval series, and there's just something really, I don't even modest about it. I don't know how to explain it. It's just like a bunch of redneck dudes like me. We got our 800 horsepower sheet metal cars that we built, and we're just like hauling ass. And it's just something real fun about it. And then there's like guys drinking like Jack and Cokes before we go green, like before the race starts, like drivers just drinking Jack and Cokes. So I'm like, this is wild.
Shit, man, if I was driving a car that I built, I'd definitely want a few Jack and Cokes before I got in it.
Oh my God, dude. Yeah, man, I'll be getting in my car, and it will be like qualifying or practice. And I'm getting in it, and I'm strapping in, and it's like a cocoon. You can't breathe. It's crazy. A lot of people don't realize it until they sit in one, and they're like, oh wow, you can't even look to the left or right. It's like, no, you just got this, you got that. And you can barely see out of the windshield. It's all real cramped. And I'll get in my car, and things will go through my head. It's like, I don't remember torquing on the rear end. I don't remember torquing on the upper A arm when you changed it. And I'm like, did I tighten the upper A arm? The thing that's flopping with the wheels attached to it, like, because you have to change them almost every other race because you change the camber of the wheel depending on the track's banking. And I'm like, man, I don't remember doing that. And you're about to go qualify, and you're like, well, I hope it works out. And you're going into like turn one.
Really hope the tracking rod's connected to the wheels. Otherwise, they're going to be pointing in different directions,
And that stuff happens, man. You'll see somebody. We had a guy once go out, and he goes out, and his like front right like tires loose and jiggling, and he says it on the radio. Everybody knows. So he's coming in, and then he runs out of fuel on the front stretch. He never put fuel in it, and he didn't tighten his like wheels.
Holy shit.
And that's the thing that I think about all the time. I'm like, man, did I put fuel in? I don't remember doing anything. Hope it works out. Like, it's wild because in our series it's way, way less like structured. I mean,
I was going to say, like, comparing that to something like F1, where it's like a science, like everything's been like honed down to like this like finely tuned machine where, there's very little variation between cars and stuff. There's something just kind of awesome about like, I'm just driving a car that I basically built in my own garage, and like I tinkered with it myself, and maybe it's going to run, maybe it's going to blow up, who knows? We'll just give it a try and see what happens. Like that's kind of cool. Like, and I like that.
The whole thing is redneck as hell because the car is basically sheet metal and roll bars and a chassis. And it's an old chassis that actually ran in NASCAR back in the day, like the top series. And it has like an 850 horsepower engine, and it handles like garbage. And it weighs 3,000.
It just has to go in an oval, really, doesn't it? So it's like turn left all the time.
It's just like you're driving a brick into a tight ass corner, and it always sticks for some reason. It just continues to stick. It's wild, man. It's a lot of fun. I like it because the camaraderie and the scary thing about getting more professional in it, because that's kind of like my goal is to get a little bit more professional in it. It will get way more structured and way less kind of aloofy, and then it'll probably be less fun. I feel like because it's real fun just showing up and doing some bullshit. I don't know. Somebody said pull up a pic of my car. Matt Self, what's up, dude? And my boy's in here. Pull up. Yeah, I'll pull up one real quick for Drinker so you can kind of get an idea.
Yeah.
It's a big ass fat blue car. And I've built it from the ground up. The only thing I haven't done is basically painted it, which I have painted it. But it's this big. Here it is right here.
So where do you get the engine from then? If it's like 800 horsepower?
800. Yeah. So it's the engine actually, luckily for me, it came in the car when I bought it because I bought it on a whim. And it's an actual NASCAR Cup engine that's been rebuilt from back in the day. It has more power than they currently do in the Cup Series, way more. And basically, what my idea is, I'm going to keep it, like keep the engine, and just keep getting it rebuilt over and over. But that's the car right there. It's just a big fat blue car, and it
looks good, man.
Yeah, it's a monster. It's just it's a lot of fun, and it's always like when you're driving it, it's on ice because there's so much power and the car weighs so much that when you get on the throttle, the tires just spin, and you're trying to like come up with a good balance to keep it from spinning off the corner. So you're like, it's just a really weird balancing act, and that's what I like about it. It's not just flooring it and going. It's just a lot of like foot and like hand things going on. It's really weird to explain, to be honest.
Let me ask you something, right? Because if Days of Thunder has taught me anything, it's that cars are always bumping each other. That's rubbing.
Yeah.
And apparently rubbing is racing. Is that something that happens, or is that just made up for the films?
It does happen, but it's not as prevalent in like my series because everybody in my series pretty much pays for their own things. So obviously,
you don't want to fuck your own car.
You don't want, you don't want to be spending money. But there are some kids that come up, and they're like, dad pays some team owner to let him drive, and he'll just wreck people. Like, he doesn't care because he doesn't have anything invested in it, and he's a kid. So you'll see that a lot in certain series. Like there's a series called the Cars Tour, and it's like late model. It's similar cars that we run, and it's like a bunch of 16-year-old kids and 15-year-old kids, and they just wreck each other. They don't care because they don't have anything personally invested. It's just their dad paid for them to be in the car, so they're in the car wrecking everybody. But it rarely happens in our series. But I have wrecked twice. Pretty minor stuff. I did spin a guy once. Yeah, because he came down on me. But it's life. Billy Hatcher says, how much to Naked Snake? 300. A fifth of the way to 5 milk. So yeah, dude, it's a lot of fun, and it's what I look forward to. What do you? So you write novels. So yeah, it almost answers my next question, because I was going to ask, like, is there something that you kind of put your time into that isn't really well known or isn't really based off your channel, but you've got 9 books before you even started YouTube, right? You had 9 books.
Yeah, pretty much.
Jesus. Yeah. Is that pay well as a redneck man?
Well, nowhere near as much as YouTube does, put it that way. And like in the time it takes me to write a novel, you're talking at least 6 or 7 months of just pure writing. Like, I could produce probably 50 videos in that time. Like, it's crazy. Like, and make it like way more. But it's a rewarding thing, because if you've got a story you want to tell, then there's something really cool about being able to do that. So I do enjoy it. It's just I got to balance my time now, because I can't just stop making videos for 6 months while I go off and dick around writing a book. So I've got to be a bit more careful about it. But,
did you ever think that your YouTube would grow to the heights it is now?
No idea. No way. I thought if I ever got to 10,000 subs, that would be awesome.
Yeah,
like, I would consider myself like, I've made it. I've become a YouTuber. But yeah, it just kept going. I never expected it. I just I rode the wave, man, and just enjoyed it as it was happening.
Yeah, dude. So now, look, I'm not in any way, shape, or form in the same position, but I remember if I could get to 10,000 subs, that would change my life. And it was one day. It was the first day, actually. So I put out a video. I worked at a store called GameStop for 11 years, and it was an awful job. It was okay for the first couple of years, but it started getting real bad. And I saw this guy. He made a video saying, I worked at GameStop for 3 months. Here's my story. And I'm like, well, I worked there for 11 years. So I had left GameStop, and I just shot a video of my cell phone. And the name of the video was, I worked at GameStop for 11 years. Here's my story. And I think it got like 10,000 views because I put it on Reddit, and it somehow hit the front page of Reddit. Just got lucky. And I was like, cool. So I started releasing a video a week talking about GameStop and like different stories. Cause I mean, when something takes off, you just keep doing it. Right.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So I did it for 6 months, and then my videos are getting like 100 views a piece, and I didn't really think about it anymore. So I was like, well, I'm going to go ahead and focus on my real job. So I stopped doing it for like 2 weeks, maybe. And I was at my friend's graduation, And I went to bed. I was laying in bed and I went to bed, and then I woke up at like 8 a.m. and I noticed I had like probably over 1,000 notifications combined on different apps. And I was like, what's going on? And what I have, I had like over 1,000 people follow me on Twitter, Instagram, thousands. And I was like, I don't know what the hell's going on. So I went to my YouTube Studio app and I had 250 subs, I think, or 283. And I refreshed it and I had 9,800.
Yep.
And I was like, what? And then every time I refreshed it, it would be like another 1,000. So by the time I got home, 2 days later, I had 30,000 subs. And I was like, well, God.
That's incredible, man.
Oh my God.
Like, that's quicker than mine. Like,
Yeah.
That's a hell of a thing.
But, and I hit 100K subs within 9 months of that happening. And then it kind of slowed down a little bit there because, I mean, you can only talk about GameStop so much. And I still do today because there's stuff happening all the time. And I talk about other companies, but yeah, I never thought I'd ever get to even 10,000, let alone 100,000. So like, I've already considered myself winning the YouTube like game. just for the fact that I hit that 100K, I never even thought was possible.
It's just you have that initial feeling of like panic, almost like, oh my God, what the hell's happening? Like suddenly people are like paying attention to my channel. Like, am I now going to like get loads of abuse from people? Like, I don't know where the hell this is going. And then like you can either, I guess, kind of crumple under that and just think like, I'm bowing out. I don't want to be part of this, or maybe you don't know what to do next, or you can try and like think, well, okay, what do people enjoy about the work that I'm doing? Like, how can I improve on that and keep producing good stuff? And that's what both of us, I guess, have been able to do. And it's been pretty productive for both of us.
It's like I had this weird like moment where I was like, well, I think when I like saw this happen, I was like, I think my life just changed.
I had that, like, it wasn't so much that I knew or anything. It was more like, where the hell could this lead? Like, could I end up getting 1 million subs one day? Like, I don't know.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, apparently, yes.
Yeah, dude, I remember when you hit 1 million subs, like I was like, I don't really know if I cheer on most people. I think I do in general if I consider them like friends, I guess. But yeah, when you were about to hit 1 million subs, I was like, I was probably in your comment section going, "Woo! Like, let's go!" Because I like the content. So I was like, "Hell yeah, do it, man!" Because there's too much nowadays and I see it, dude. I see it all the time. There's so many people that want you to fail. Like in my comments every day are people wanting me to fail. There's people wanting my channel to get deleted. They want me gone for whatever reason. And there's just not many people like cheering you on. So I feel like it's kind of I guess it's not a rare commodity. It's just the people that are angry are the loudest.
Well, I think, it's human nature. Like you could see like 100 positive comments from people.
Yeah.
And, you're like, oh, that's nice. But like, it doesn't really make an impact after a while. But then you see like one really negative comment from someone, and that's the one that like sticks with you. It's human nature,
Yeah, dude.
But you just, the thing I always say to people is like, you've just got to find a way to not react to it.
Yeah.
Because the moment you do, you're just going to encourage more people to do the same thing.
Yep. Yeah. And now I pride myself on the fact that I was able to, I don't react to any of them, to be honest. But every now and then, it depends on my mood. If I'm in like a real shitty mood, like the girl that I was supposed to hang out with didn't show up, I'm having an existential crisis. I'm getting older. I see like a couple more gray hairs. And then I just happen to open YouTube Studio and it's a damn hate comment. I'm just like, God, it just, all of the things culminate into like one just angry moment where I'm like, you sons of bitches. I guess I'll go to Twitter and take a screenshot. Make myself feel better about it because people are like,
one must make an example of this man.
Yes. I like the ones that are just stupid. Like, I'm sure you get this all the time. Man, I'll say something. So I did a video recently about Linus Tech Tips, the YouTuber, and he has his own company. And, there's a few practices within his company that are kind of shady. And I talk about those kind of things sometimes. So I was like, hey, here's what I'm seeing. And I prefaced it with certain things that were important for contextual reasons. And it was like 20 seconds into the video or 17 seconds in. And dude, I was getting a comment every time I freaking looked at my phone. And it's like, saying like saying, hey, you're a liar because this is actually what's happening. And I'm like, dude, I said that in the first 17 seconds. You didn't even watch the video. They just saw the title and commented. And I'm like, you bastards. I said the thing, man. I said the thing and you don't even care. You just hear it because you're angry. And God, that's the one thing that you'll never have to worry about. But I usually don't either, is I made a video talking about another YouTuber just because it's a similar, like they have a company and I was talking about their company. And it pissed off a lot of people. It's my most downvoted video of like all time. Now, granted, it's only like 85%. Like it's 85% upvote, 15%.
Oh, that's fine. Gosh.
Yeah, usually it's like 99.4% upvote. But it was like 85% because all these people came from this other guy and they were just so angry. But it did result in some views, so at least there's that. Oliver R says, I'm also a critical drinker. Greetings from Germany. Yeah, I stopped for 2 months because I was trying to lose a little bit of weight for the like spring season. And then I made the mistake of going to Vegas and I got drunk every day. And now I'm just back to drinking. It's just great. I just can't stop. Love it.
Well, the way I look at it is like drink more efficiently, so just have like spirits. And so there's not many calories in them, but they get the job done pretty quickly. I'm actually going to Germany in a couple of weeks, actually. I'm going to go to Berlin for the weekend. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. Well, Luke Voss, you deserve it. You deserve it, you son of a bitch. He's like, way to throw us under the bus. Yeah. Y'all bitches in the chat, by the way. By the way, bitches in the chat, like the stream. Oh, we already hit the like goal. See, I've been drinking too much, drinker. I'm sorry.
So what happens when people are around me? What can I say?
Yeah, dude. I wasn't gonna drink, and then we started the stream, and I was like, well, I saw you sipping on something, and I'm like, fuck, that makes me want to sip on something. When you see it happen in front of you, like you might see two dudes like making out, and you're like, I don't know. Like that looks like
so I'm gonna give it a try. Why not?
I mean, I guess. No, dude. Oh yeah. So like this is probably too much information, but this one time I was at a house party and we were doing spin the bottle, and my whole goal was to spin the bottle on this girl that I've been hanging out with. And I was excited. And then I accidentally spin the bottle on this guy that goes to my gym. Now, granted, look, the dude's very attractive, so I don't want to say like very attractive.
Well, at least he was good looking,
Yeah, and so I was like, okay, you know what? Look, I'm real drunk, so this will be easy, because I was real drunk. And when my lips touched his lips, it was like earth-shattering for me. I was like, no. It was at that moment that I realized that I wasn't into it. I was like, well, I guess I finally found out. Like, at least I can say that I just don't like it. I felt his like 5 o'clock stubble. It's too much, man.
Well, there you go. At least you tried it, and now you know, so you never have to wonder.
Yeah, it's just something. His lips were so strong and masculine, it just didn't feel right. They weren't soft and dainty. They were too.
If he'd worn like chapstick or something, like maybe it might have been a different story.
Yeah, but no, dude, it was just too manly. He was a very shaven, clean dude because he was gay. So he was like, which made him. That's probably why he kept texting me too. I was wondering why he texted me. He texts me every Friday. What are you doing, bro? I'm like, no, nothing. He's like, you want to hang out? And I'm like, no.
He's like, nah, I'm fine.
Yeah, I haven't even thought about this. I realized he was trying to bang me this whole time. So
there you go.
And then now there's some people in my chat. They're like, well, why didn't you try that and then see if you like that? No, damn it. If the lips don't work, that's like level 1. Like if level 1's awful, I can't do level 2.
Yeah, it's not going to get any better from there, really, is it?
No. Yeah, it's not like his body will be any less masculine than his lips were. It's more masculine. The dude was jacked.
Yeah, it's just going to get worse in that case. Yeah.
Yeah, he's gonna like hold me, and I'll be like confused when he's holding me. I'm like, he's holding me like a baby.
Like you'll be like the little spoon, he'll be the big spoon.
Yeah, I don't like that. Something about it. Dude, when really small girls trying to little spoon you, and they're like a backpack. I'm like, can you get off me? Like I don't like something about it. I don't like it. Like it doesn't feel like a little backpack, and it like gives me a crick in my neck because they're putting their head right here. Like, no,
yeah, I'm always like at a certain point I'm like, oh, okay, get off now. Like either we're gonna fuck or like I need to go to sleep. Like we gotta pick one of those two. I can't do both at the same time. And if you're on me, like I don't know what I'm doing.
Like I don't know if it's just me. I guess it's not, but like women will be like, I want you to snuggle me while I sleep. And I'm like holding this woman and I'm like, okay, I hope she goes to sleep soon so I can like roll over and like focus on my sleep. because I can't sleep like this. Like,
well, the thing is, if you're holding them, right, usually one arm is going to be underneath them, and that arm ends up going to sleep because they're lying on top of it, and you're like, yeah, okay, just fall asleep now so I can get out of this because it's starting to fucking freak me out.
Yeah. Hey, Ashley. Ashley knows what I'm talking about. She's one of those little backpack girls. I know her in real life. She's just in my chat. She's she's a backpack girl. Damn you, Ashley. Why are you here? I'm drinking. You can't be here right now. Look at her. Yeah. LMAO. Yeah. So yeah, no backpack girls, man. We come full circle back to the tall girls. I feel like a tall girl could little spoon me. I don't know why. Maybe it would like be more like, what's the ergonomics?
So she would be the little spoon.
Yeah.
But she'd be taller than you. Oh God.
No, if she was taller than you, she could be the big spoon.
Oh yeah. She could be. Yeah.
And maybe I would feel secure, like she could like attack an intruder or something.
She could like whisper sweet nothings in my ear as I cry myself to sleep.
Had a really bad day today.
Yeah. Nobody understands me.
Yeah. Only you do. She's like, I got you, baby, because her voice is deep for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah, just to kind of assume like if she's tall, she's gonna have a deep voice. You know?
Can have a deep voice. Yeah, it was like it's why I wanted to meet Gina Carano so bad for so long. Because she's a giant lady, and for some reason I just love giant ladies. And
the thing is, I don't think she's tall though. I don't think she's like 5'8", 5'9" or something. So
well, that's kind of tall to me.
Yeah, okay, she's about equal. You know, if she was wearing high heels, she'd be about like, level pegging.
Well, she's thick as hell. You know,
she could definitely fold me in half.
Yeah, so like
I would like it.
Yeah, dude, I'd last like a whole 7 seconds, dude. As soon as she slaps me in the face, it's over. I can't go any further. Like, well, you got to give me 30 minutes now, because
there's something kind of cool though if you've got a girl that's like her. You know, she's obviously got a bit of strength about her, and it's like you got to respect that. You know, when you see it.
Yeah, it is cool. It's cool because I don't know what it is. I guess she can take care of herself in most situations, I guess. You know, like, because most girls, like, if somebody jumped on you and started like trying to attack you or her, like, she's just gonna fold, and then you have to protect her. But Gina can get a punch in.
This is because I've been drawn into this before, right? And like, I don't need assault fucking charges on my record, but like, there's girls that will start fights on your behalf, and then you have to deal with it. And it's like, it's easy for you to start the fight when you can just step back and let me do all the take all the punches. You know, that's not fun for me. Yeah, especially when it's a dude like I don't even know him, I've never met him, and I don't even know why I'm supposed to be fighting him because I've not seen him do anything wrong.
Yeah, dude. Wild Red says, contributing to Fight Milk. Fight Milk's the best part about Drinkers that I didn't know he was an author until recently. I've known for a while, but I didn't know it like until, because I think at the end of one of your videos you talked about how you had a book, and I was like, oh my God, he's putting out books. That's cool. And then but I did not know you had 9 before you do. That's insane. By the way,
that's the thing, man. I don't generally like to like ram it down people's throats and be like, oh, you know, buy my books, buy all this stuff, because you know it pisses people off, and I rather just let people discover it by themselves if they're interested.
Yeah. Speaking of ramming something down people's throats and pissing people off, make sure you guys follow my locals. Okay. Join that bitch and get on it, doggone it. It's in the description. Speaking of chicks trying to get you into fights, my ex-wife, when she would drink, okay, and if somebody was rude to her at a bar or in passing or at a restaurant, she would like do that thing where she'd be sassy and kind of like whisper under her breath or say something under her breath while she walked away. And dude, I'm like, and she would do it to like men. And I would like grab her and be like, what are you doing? Stop. Like, because if this dude comes, I have to fight him, and I don't want to fight this guy. I don't even know who he is.
Yeah,
she would love to mouth off. She wasn't aggressive. She wouldn't try to fight you, but she'd love to mouth off when she drink. And I had to like sit her down and be like, look, you're gonna get me in a fight, and I don't want to fight people. For one, I'm not a trained fighter. I may be like a large man as far as like muscle mass, but that doesn't mean I can fight, dude. Like, I might get my ass kicked really fast.
I generally don't like it because it's like, one, you could be going up against a fucking Green Beret or something like that, and two, like even if you win, like if you get caught doing that, like you could end up like getting charged for that shit, and you spend the night in jail. Like, there's nothing good gonna come out of it. Yeah, and it luckily in our line of work, you can kind of like you can keep doing what you're doing. But for most people, if you get like a felony charge or a charge like that, you could lose your job.
So like we can still just make YouTube videos, but like if you're like working for the government in our country, yeah, you'll lose your job immediately just because your chick thought she was gonna be a badass and bow up at a dude. Because my ex-wife was like 5'2" or 5'1". She's a little bitty girl, and she'd like walk up to dudes that are like 6'2" and like mouth off to them. I'm like, yeah, I'm about to get my ass kicked. This is gonna be great.
The thing is, she's lucky she herself didn't get knocked out as well before you could even step in. You know.
Well, luckily this was like, what is it, 2010, 2011, which was, it was a little bit less prevalent to see that. I feel like nowadays, like it's Twitter is too dominant and all these things. Now people will just slap a chick because they're like, you know what? Never mind. It's too late. Yeah. Most people look at it as in women like, oh, well, they won't equal rights. So they're going to get equal slaps too. Unfortunately.
I think, if you start on a guy and like you want to square up to him and like, square up is like a Scottish thing, but you know what I mean? Like, get right in his face and try and fight him.
Yeah.
It's like, like he's going to defend himself, and that's not going to end well for you.
Have you ever been in have you been in a fight like that, like in your adult life?
Oh God, like probably like 10 years ago. Like that was the last time, and it was the dumbest thing. It was just like, some asshole was like tripping people up as we were leaving like a nightclub. Like he was trying to do it like with every person that was making their way out.
No.
And I don't know if I had a bad night or something, but I was in a fucking foul mood. And I remember saying to my mate as we were walking out, if he tries that with me, I'm going to swing for him. And like I looked at the guy, looked him in the eye as I was walking out. Like I know what you're doing, and if you try it, like I'm going to see it. And sure enough, he tried to trip me up. And so I just, I swung around, tried to lamp him one right in the face. And he turned his head at the last second. I hit the side of his head, and it was like punching a cannonball. I was like, I thought I'd snapped half the bones in my hand. But anyway, like he kind of staggered back against the wall. And his friend, who I didn't even know existed, came flying in and tackled me to the ground. And like, we were kind of wrestling around for a minute or two. And then the bouncers threw us all outside, so that was good fun.
Well, damn. Yeah, so
that was the last fight I was in, and that was like easily 10 years ago. Like, it's a long time.
I don't know what it is. I was at some convention in South Carolina, and there was a guy, and we had a group of like 10 people, and we were all drinking, men, women, and everybody was having a great time. And there's this one guy, and I've seen people like this in my life. Soon as he starts getting buzzed and drunk, he turns into like a guy that wants to fight every single person around him. And I don't understand that.
That kind of friend is always
isn't that weird? Yeah. So
I've known people like that as well.
Yeah, but he starts getting drunk and he wants to fight everybody. And I'm just sitting on the couch, like watching this happen in front of me while I'm drinking. And this guy's getting in everybody's face. And I'm like, well, I'm going to have to fight this guy probably, but I'm pretty crossfaded. So I'm going to wait until like something gets detrimental and then I'm going to do it. And then this other guy who was a Marine, he was like in our room with us. He's also hanging out with us. The guy gets too angry and he slaps at one of the guys, and this Marine guy stands up and just decks him, and he falls over and he drags him out of the suite we're staying in and closes the door and just left him out there. And I was like, well, shit, I didn't have to do nothing. Like, he just decked him once, and the guy didn't. It was so easy. The guy just fell over immediately.
Oh yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like, if you take one right to the chin, you're going down. It doesn't matter how tough you think you are. Like, you're gonna go down. Especially if there's like no gloves, no padding. But that hits fucking hard. Like, you'll know yourself. If you get hit in the face, it really fucking hurts. You know? And especially if you get hit in the jaw, like that's it. Like, your lights out.
Yeah, I had a girl. Now this is kind of different, but it just pertains to it in a less severe way. But it just lets you know how severe it can get. I had a girl once come up to me, and we were just hanging out with a bunch of group of friends, and we're drinking, and she's this tiny little girl, and she's like, "Hey, can I slap you in the face?" And my dumb ass was like, "Oh, she's gonna slap me in the face a little bit. It's gonna be funny." And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't care. I'm drunk." And she's like, "Okay, cool." And she rears back and hits me as hard as she can. And it like,
what, closed fist, like punch?
No, like just open. She slaps me like as hard as she can, and it like rocks me a little bit, and everything's ringing. And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, what just happened?" And I didn't react in any poor way. I was just like, wow, I didn't expect you to hit me that hard. And she's just a little girl. So think about like a man that's like 10 times the punching power just hitting you in the face. Yeah, I couldn't imagine like most people, if you don't expect it, because if you can like prepare for it, you might be all right. But if you don't expect it, you're going down. Just completely.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, like I say, it really hurts. And like if they hit you anywhere near the eye, like you're going to be, your vision's going to be fucked for the next couple of minutes. Like it's just, especially if they hit the nose, like they could break your nose really fucking easily.
God, dude, I broke my nose. All right, I don't know if I broke it. Boogeyman Brown, thank you, by the way. I think Drinker would like dirt model racing. Dirt late model racing. I don't like being sideways that whole time. It freaks me out. But I remember laughing once. I was at my grandmother's house and I just started laughing and I bent down to laugh because I was laughing so hard and I hit my nose on a bedpost like real hard. And then I just got really quiet for a moment and then I looked in the mirror and there was just blood pouring like a faucet out of my nose. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God. And I was like 14. So I was like terrified. I'm like, I think I'm dying. Help, somebody do something.
Usually the rule of thumb is like if tears start coming out of your eyes, you're probably broken your nose. Yeah. It just starts like the tear response for some reason. And like it almost blinds you.
So like, you're
not doing that.
You're saying that every time I watch Interstellar and it gets to that scene where he's looking at his kids like old videos and they're getting older, that I broke my nose every time?
Every single time.
That scene messes me up, dude. I don't know what it is. Like I know a lot of people that hate that movie Interstellar, but I just love it. I don't know why. I just love it so much. And that scene, every time, it just wrecks me. And I'm like having to sit here and like look stoically at the screen and try to not get bothered by it, but it bothers me every time. Like,
well, I think if you look at it as like a father or anything like that, to see your child grow up in front of your eyes in the space of seconds, like all this stuff that you've missed out on, all this heartbreaking, events that you haven't seen, and you're just suddenly learning about it now. It's like, it must just be like 20 years of emotion condensed into a few seconds.
Yeah,
you can totally get where he's coming from with it.
Yeah, Matthew McConaughey's reaction and acting in that scene, it's just so good that it hurts. But like, it's just he's like delivering it so good that it like breaks me in half every time because he's like hysterically sobbing. It's rough.
It's like Matthew McConaughey really had like a renaissance as an actor. He started out as just being in all these stupid romantic comedies and stuff, and like suddenly he's doing like these serious dramatic movies, and he can actually deliver. Like he's a good actor.
Yeah. And
yeah, like a guy who's been pretty stoic and pretty composed throughout the whole film, just to see him breaking down like that it's gonna get you.
Yeah, it wrecked me. It wrecks me. And I don't know if it's something. I don't know about you. You seem to be pretty invested. There's a lot of movies, dude. It seems like I watch a lot of stuff and it gets me. I don't know what it is. And I have no problem in real life. Like I don't get emotional. I don't battle with anything that's like emotional. I go to the gym every day. I'm a normal ass dude. I'm pretty strong headed. But for some reason, if I turn on a movie, I was watching what's that movie? It just came out with Tom Hanks. It's called A Man Named Otto. It's a remake.
Oh yeah.
Dude, it messed me up like 4 times because the reason he's so crabby is because of his wife that's been gone for a long time, and it keeps showing these flashbacks. Oh my God! And I'm just like, it's just
it's based on a book, and the book's meant to be amazing because I think it was originally called A Man Named Ove, like a Swedish thing, but like same exact story, just like this crotchety old man, and he gradually find out the reason why he is the way he is, and yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah, dude, it wrecks me. Gary Thomas says, understand what Camelot means by liking tall women. One of the most beautiful women I ever met was 5'11". She was part British and part Swedish. Her husband was 6'6". Damn, Gary. Yeah, I think what it boils down to is just more woman. More woman is better. Now, unless it's like wide. I don't want more wide woman. I don't want like a 600-pound woman. Like,
no.
Oh God, geez. That 600-pound life, just God, these people. And
I've watched The Whale, and it doesn't look fun being that size.
Oh, The Whale was great though. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, a really good film.
Yeah, Brendan Fraser did such a good job that it broke me in half. Another film that broke me in half. And I struggled. A lot of people like don't realize it when they meet me, but I was obese when I was like 13, 14, 15. And I was pushing 300 pounds when I was that age. And it was a pretty nightmarish thing to go through, especially when you're, a kid. And obviously I grew up in the 90s, so it was brutal. Like if you were different in any way, shape, or form, you got destroyed. So I got the shit kicked out of me a lot in school. And then I lost all that weight. I lost like 100 pounds in 3 months when I was 17 because I stopped drinking soda.
I was going to say, how did you do it?
It was really weird. I just stopped drinking soda. I was drinking like 12 Pepsis a day, Coke, and I just stopped one day. I was like, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm just going to stop. I'm just going to only drink water, and I'm really good at cold turkey and stuff. So I did that, and within almost 4 months, I was like a frail, skinny kid, and I had no idea how it happened so fast. And then, of course, I got my first girlfriend immediately. Whereas, before then, they always saw me as their brother. Bitches.
Yeah.
All of them bitches. No, I had this one girl I had a crush on for a long time. And she was like, yeah, you're like my brother. And I remember when, what was it? Elder Scrolls Oblivion had just came out. And I was playing it, and she would call me on the phone, like the landline phone. And she would talk to me for hours while I was playing Oblivion. And I just didn't listen to her because she was annoying. But she would talk about her boyfriends and how she's upset at her boyfriend for this or that. And then I lost all that weight like a year later. And she came to like my store because I was working at GameStop at the time. I started young. And she had a crush on me now. But before, she said I was like her brother. And I was like, these bitches. It was all because I was a fat guy. And they didn't like me because I was a fat guy, which understandably I get it.
It might, you might have had the same like attitude towards her if she'd been 300 pounds. You might have saw her as like, well, I'm not that attracted to you physically, but I like you.
Yeah, I wouldn't even have been her friend in the first place. This girl like emotionally leaned on me all the time. And like I wouldn't have been friends with the girl the other way. If it was the other way around, I would have not called her every night and tried to talk to her and shit. Because she was given the mixed signals, and then she died, which was unexpected later on.
Damn, this story's taking a turn. Holy shit!
Yeah. She was dating a guy, and he like had a mental breakdown, and he came home and just shot her in the face. It was wild.
Jesus Christ!
Yeah, I was just on Facebook one day, and I saw her obituary, and I was like, "What the fuck? Oh my god!" Jesus. She's a nice girl though, but rest in peace. It was rough. I couldn't believe that. Oh my god, it's wild. She still lived in the same place we grew up too. So, is that a weird thing? So you're a little older than me. Do you ever hear about friends like that? Just or maybe an acquaintance or somebody you knew from school. And they just passed.
Yeah, no one that's been like killed, but a few people that I've been to school with passed away from like different I guess medical issues that no one knew about or whatever. And it was kind of shocking because it's like, god damn, these were like young people in their 30s, still with their whole lives ahead of them, and like suddenly they've just died. And in a slightly narcissistic way, it almost makes you think about yourself and think like, damn, I always thought I was kind of indestructible and like I was going to have decades and decades before I ever had to worry about any of that stuff. But like, shit, am I going to drop dead tomorrow or whatever? I don't know.
Dude, it's wild. I see a couple posts a year of somebody passing away that I knew from school. And the weird, unfortunate, like, truth to it is almost none of them died from natural causes. Now, that one girl, of course, she, was murdered. But a lot of the people I knew, like the men specifically, there's I think 3 in the last 2 years that all committed suicide, and they were in my same like class, like whatever graduating class, I guess you would call it. And I remember these people from school, and they're committing suicide, and I'm like, what's happening? Like, what the fuck is going on? Like,
and were these guys like ex-soldiers or anything like that,
no.
Or was it just normal day-to-day life?
One of the guys was just one of my friends I used to sit with at lunch all the time back in high school. And I just was scrolling through Facebook, and he committed suicide. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, it's something to do with, I guess, modern society. I mean, especially if you feel no purpose. Like, for example, I guess now this is just my theory, and I could be wrong, but we spend a lot of our time in modern day with no purpose and kind of bored, and I feel like that breeds that kind of like mental like state, because back in 1100 or 1200 or 1700, you didn't have time for that shit. You were like, well, I got to not die. My whole point is me and my family's survival. And now, I mean, there's everything so ease of access. You don't really have, I guess, those thoughts of survival. So you don't really, I think you lack purpose.
Yeah, I guess like necessity forces you to be pragmatic.
Yeah.
And if it's about just day-to-day survival, like you say, in previous decades or even previous centuries, life was a lot harder, and like you were a lot less safe, and so you didn't have time to ponder the big existential questions. Perhaps you had to just get on and do it and survive day to day. And maybe we don't have quite as much of that now, and there's a little bit of a crisis of identity and a crisis of purpose amongst people, particularly younger people, because they're being told now, like, forget all that crazy stuff about having families and leaving a legacy for yourself. Just enjoy yourself, like party, buy loads of things, just have fun for yourself. And like, yeah, that's great up to a point, but eventually it becomes a little bit hollow and a little bit meaningless.
Yeah.
And you want something more. You can enjoy that like throughout your 20s maybe, but like eventually, yeah, you're going to want to move on to a different stage. And some people learn a bit too late. That's what they were missing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's accurate. And it's just the fact that, for example, I have a good example. So when I started racing, in this minor series, and it really energized me. And I found a way to kind of like solve what I was feeling. But during October, November, December, and January, February, March, there's no racing because it's like the winter break.
Yeah.
And I get in these weird mental moods where I'm just bored and I don't do anything. I'm just laying around. And the way I was able to solve that was I started doing this show, which I called like the CAMELCAST. And it completely changed everything. I'm like, I love doing this. This is awesome. And I think that's the biggest issue, is just lack of, maybe not, I wouldn't say drive, but like an outlet to use that drive. Does that make sense? Like,
well, when you're particularly when you're doing something like this, right? When you're basically running your own business, like you're self-employed, there's a lot of then demands on you, because like your own success is totally in your hands. If you're working for some big company, you can show up to work each day and do the bare minimum, and it's not very fulfilling because the company will continue regardless of how good or bad you do. Yep. It's kind of demoralizing once you realize that, actually. But with something like this, it keeps a little bit of adrenaline going, because, man, like, I could totally fuck up and produce a bunch of crap videos, and then no one's going to watch them, and my channel will die.
Yeah.
That's a thing that can still happen to even the biggest YouTube channels. And so it makes it exciting because it's all on you. Your success or your failure is in your hands, and that's kind of a cool feeling.
Yeah.
So yeah, like you say, that gives you purpose, because there's a whole bunch of things you have to do to support that. Whether it's catching up on super chats, whether it's answering emails from people, whether it's like dealing with business inquiries, people that want to work with you to do other things, expand like your business that you're doing. All that stuff just becomes accessible to you, but it's all stuff that you have to deal with, and it gives you a purpose.
Yeah.
As you go through like your day-to-day life, that's a good thing. That's definitely something that helps.
100%. Digital Demonic Davros says Ryan Drake should solve the crime of woke. Drinker knows his great character has the nuts to come through with the joke. Right? Is Ryan Drake one of your characters?
Yeah, he's the main character in the series.
Then I want you to speak to Ryan Drake really quick and describe that series that you have real quick, because I'm going to take a 2-second bathroom break because I'm about to die because I drank way too much whiskey.
Oh damn, you're right ahead of me. All right, okay, yeah. I'll keep things going while you're gone.
Go ahead.
All right, cool. So Ryan Drake, the idea behind him is that he works for the CIA. He is what's called a shepherd. So if the CIA have an informant, a source working in foreign territory, and that person goes missing, either that they've been captured or they've turned against the CIA, Drake and his team are sent in to retrieve them. And so that's basically the underpinning of the series. They are sent into a prison in Siberia to retrieve a CIA asset that's been missing for a long time. They bring her back to the US. Drake discovers that she used to be a CIA operative with a very checkered history. And so before he can even deliver her to his masters, he's forced to go on the run with her because his own people have been set against him. And so he's on the run with her. He learns more about her. He finds out who she was and what she was involved in. And yeah, that basically sets in motion a chain of events that's going to last throughout the rest of the series. And I'm very aware that I'm waffling right now. I feel like I'm running my own live stream. But I'll as I'm doing this, I'll try and answer some of the things that are coming up in chat as well. What have we got here? Oh shit, where is it? Jarkai says, did she cheat on him and destroy him or what? I think that's replied to someone that was already talking in chat.
Whew. All right. Oh my gosh, dude, I feel so great.
No, it's funny you should say that because I feel like I need to do the same thing that you've just done.
Go ahead and I'll catch up on some of these super chats real quick.
All right, no problem, man.
All right, Disco Cobra says, I missed the first hour, so I don't know what was talked about. Mental health has been pretty bad across the board within the past 5 years. COVID really messed some people up. Men in general, society's been demonized. Oh, well, of course. I like how he's like, feminism caused this. I don't disagree. I blame most everything on women because it's easy and yeah, because why? Fuck them. That's why. Thank you so much, Disco Cobra, for a pink boy. I love you. I think it might be the first one. Oh, no, it's the second one from Cassius. We're at 7 gold boys, 3 away from a gold ass knot, and 3 orange boys, 2 away, 2 pink boys, and 1 red boy. Cassius joins the party, says, had a schoolmate who offed himself after my ex cheated on him. She chased him down the highway, but he stopped. Got his... What the... Jesus. My God. Holy hell. He got off his... Man, you know what, Cassius? You know what that thing makes me think of? It makes me think of the fact that when we're going through emotional moments, like very, very emotional moments, that we do things that are emotionally driven that we would have not done if we were in like maybe the confines of our own home alone. So it sounds like he did it because she was chasing him and he's like, okay, I'm going to show her. You know what I'm saying? He's like, I'm going to show her. I'm going to do this and show her. But you don't, in the moment, you don't realize the finality in that. Like the finality. It's, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of scary. That sucks, man. That really, really sucks. This super chat drinker just said that this guy had a buddy that his ex cheated on him. And she chased him down the highway, and then he stopped, got off his bike, and ended his life in front of her. And I feel like that's like an emotional response, and that wouldn't have happened if he was by himself. You know what I'm saying? Like, because people don't realize the finality in that. Like, because a lot of people, there's a video, I don't know if you've ever seen this video. It's a video that I accidentally saw that I hated, but it's like an Asian family. And there's a kid sitting at a desk, and his dad's berating him. And the kid just grabs a gun and shoots himself in front of his dad. And his dad starts freaking out and everybody's freaking out. And I'm like, why? Like, because you know that's an emotional response to what is happening. And if the certain situation was happening, he wouldn't have done that act. But he's doing it because to garner a reaction from these folks, but they don't realize the finality in this. It's like,
yeah, it's almost like terrifying. I can come back and like see their reaction after the fact. Yeah. It's like, no, like this isn't a video game. You don't get a continue or a respawn like that.
100%. God,
yeah, that's terrifying. I just like I've never been in that position, man. So I can't imagine it. But like I've never thought like, oh, I'm gonna finish this. You know,
Yeah.
never once in my life. Like things, you know, I've had tough times and I've had, you know, times when I've been pissed off or depressed or whatever, but never to that extent.
Yeah. I think it depends on how many times. So Cassius says he yelled, "Is this what you want?" And then it was a heat of the moment thing. Yeah, exactly. It's a heat of the moment thing. But thank you, Cassius, by the way. And I'm sorry to hear that, dude. But there was a moment there when my ex-wife left, because I was codependent as hell. We were together 7 years, and then she left completely abruptly, right? So you would think most divorces, how they play out is you have maybe you're fighting, it sucks, you guys hate each other, maybe you're cheating on each other. You know what I'm saying? There's like a catalyst. With mine, it was freaking it was crazy because we had a great relationship. We never fought. We did everything together. We were similar people, like always finishing each other's sentences. And then one day she was quiet, and she's never quiet. And I was like, this is weird. So I just asked her, I'm like, you all right? You're quiet today. And she told me, she was like, I don't love you anymore. And I'm leaving. And I was like, what? So then she was gone immediately. It was like 3 days later and she was gone. And I went from this like really like stable codependency thing, which is probably my fault, and to nothing. And my house is quiet every day and silent. So I had like a really weird dark period a couple days after that. And then once I got over that hump, it was a 1 day thing. And when I got over the hump, and it's like I was completely over it. And I was like gung ho and driven to do shit. And that's why I started YouTube. I started like, because when she left, I was like, well, I don't have anything to pour my time into. So I'm going to just shoot this random YouTube video. And it all worked out. You know what I'm saying? And now the funny thing is it kind of aligned when she graduated school, because she got a really, really like high profile degree and got a job immediately making like an ass ton. And then she left. I was like, you bitch, how dare you? So she's making more than me. And I don't know if there's any psychological aspects to that, but that's what I tell myself that to make myself feel better. But this is a long time ago. I mean,
well, give it another year or two on YouTube. You'll be like kicking her ass with income.
Yeah. But it was 7 years ago. So it's been a long time. But yeah, at the time it seemed like a terrible, terrible thing. Drew seeping. Yeah, you're right. He says in that video, the dad actually hands his son the gun, slaps him because he saw him fire the gun, but then realizes what his son did and he breaks down. Yeah, he handed him the gun. His dad was real dumb. Thanks, Dad, for being a dumbass. My dad was a fierce man. So you can imagine Drinker growing up in the trailer park. My dad was a fierce trailer man. Very stoic, very Joel-like Last of Us. So yeah, he would have never handed me a gun. He's kind of weird. He doesn't really care for guns that much, even though he did shoot a guy once that was trying to break into our trailer.
Damn.
But yeah,
it was why he doesn't care for them now.
Yeah, he doesn't. He's not a big fan of that, but he was a very, very stern father that would just like grab my ass and like just tear me up if I misbehaved. He's a good dude. He's a really great man. But yeah, I feel like that's one thing that's lacking nowadays is not disciplining your children at all. What do you think?
I mean, I don't know what it's like in different parts of the world. Like, I mean, I can only speak from my own experience when I was growing up. Like, I certainly was never, like, my parents were never free and easy when it came to, like, kicking my ass or anything. But, like, if I did something real bad, I'd get a little bit of a spanking, when I was a little kid. But it taught you, you don't do that again because it's gonna hurt.
I got wrecked. I got wrecked, man. I was kind of a wild ass though when I was a kid. It was rough. J.K. Rain says, I was wounded in Afghanistan, came home to emotional abusive wish and a newborn. 10 years later, I finally stood up for myself, and now I'm in the middle of a divorce and feeling great. Well, it sucks that it took like 10 years. I totally get it. But at least you're taking charge now. So hell yeah, I don't know what's happening in my chat right now. Something going crazy. It just keeps saying people are becoming sponsors. I think it's just my bot's messed up.
I think you're getting spammed.
Getting spammed, boys. Y'all watched the DSP interview. I watched a little bit of it because it was all over Twitter, but I didn't watch much of it.
I saw the bit with Gundam.
Yeah, that's all I saw. Yeah. My God. It's like this weird lore that you can't escape, and I don't know what's wrong with that guy. He's offered money to do all kinds of projects and he just never does them. And I'm like, man, I would do them.
Well, Gundam or DSP?
DSP. I love Gundam. I've been trying to get him on the show for a while, but DSP it's like he's allergic to, I guess, progressing. You know, like he has all these opportunities to use his kind of his memeness to make a career out of, or at least grow, and he just never does it. It's weird. You know, if you were that guy, let's say the drinker was the guy that was, you know, a lol cow somehow, I would just lean into it and I would make sure that was my thing. Yeah.
I mean, personally, like if I got to the stage that DSP's at, I would leave the internet. It's like, you know what? It's not worth it. YouTube's not for me. It's time to quit and do something else with my life because it's, yeah, like I know different people have different attitudes towards it, but it's like if I'm just there to take abuse from people, like I'm not doing that. That's not worth my time.
Yeah, you know what I would have done? So if the moment that now, and I feel like in some ass backwards way it was planned, maybe, but that moment where I was caught masturbating, I would, because have you ever seen that video?
I've not seen it. I've heard about it.
It's just
I've
his
heard
face.
This was a thing that happened.
It's really weird. Yeah, it's just his face. But as soon as that happened, I'd be done. I'd be like, well, I'm done, y'all. That's it. That's all she wrote in my ass. I'm not gonna come back.
I'd burned the bridges.
Yeah, there's no way. Luckily, now granted, after seeing that, I always make sure my camera's off. I'm like, I'm just gonna turn this off because there's a hard off button with the DSLR. So I'm like, every time I'm done streaming, I click it off. I'm like, there's no way somebody's seing my ass. Not happening.
You never know. You never know what could happen. You know. So
dude, I'm so afraid of that.
Precautions.
Yeah, dude. No, thank you. No, thank you. That would be just freaking traumatic, especially for everybody watching. By the way, everybody, make sure you like the stream. We're 200 from goal. We got a few, about 20 minutes left here with Mr. Drinker. I'm forever grateful that he graced my presence. Or wait,
no, it's a pleasure to be here, man. Someone mentioned as well, because we were talking about like, I thought it was someone spamming your chat, but they were apparently gifted memberships. So that's why so many of them were coming up. So,
hell yeah. Well, I appreciate that, guys. My chat bot's weird. It just doesn't communicate that very well. And we are halfway to Fat Milk, by the way. Halfway. Thank you, Disco Cobra. I love you. Cassius, I love you. I appreciate you. Somebody said, who is DSP? You probably better not knowing who that is. So dude, what's your plan for the future? What's your end goal? Like, are you like, now is it like 10 million subs or 5 million subs, or is it, what would be your dream goal that you have?
Oh, honestly, man, like I don't get hung up on like numbers like that, because it's putting stress on yourself that you don't need.
Yep.
Like suddenly you start like putting out lower quality videos. It's like, well, I've got to get so many videos out this month so I can get this number of views or this number of subscribers. And it's like, no, like I'm way beyond what I ever hoped I was going to get in terms of subs. Like I'm very happy with like how my channel's doing, and I'm just enjoying it now. Like I make videos that I'm interested in, and have fun with it. You know, I'm in the middle of making my first movie.
I saw that.
Film.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, we did the Kickstarter for that. That was great. And so like now we've got the responsibility of delivering something halfway decent for people. We're going to try and make it the best that we possibly can. And so that's like one of my focuses for this year. I'm going to be doing more conventions and meeting people. And yeah, man, as cheesy as it sounds, like I'm just enjoying where I'm at with YouTube. Like it's been very good to me, and I'm very grateful for it.
Yeah, that's awesome, because I worked, you know, in retail for years, and I was in management and field management for a long time. And my entire life, every single day, was reports of just numbers, you know, goals that you're achieving, goals that you're trying to achieve, goals that you're failing at. And it was just every day for years. And now it's like indoctrinated into my brain. And now YouTube, like the YouTube Studio app is like cancer for me, because if I look at it so often, and if I'm not performing well in an area, it's like just constant anxiety.
Yeah. You can get really caught up in it, and it's, you know, the analytics and stuff are useful just in understanding how well certain things are doing and stuff. But yeah, you can become too obsessive over the numbers of it, and just, you know, you start panicking and start trying to make more videos. Like I say, it's better to just try and make each one individually as good as you can make it, and just go from there.
Well, yeah, you know all about that because your videos are high quality as hell. I watched, I think it was Star Wars is Dead. Is that what I watched today?
That was the most recent one, yeah.
Yeah, I watched that today. And of course, it's extremely well done. And I feel like we're the same guy when it comes to Star Wars, because you talked about the Mandalorian being, it's like the first decent thing we got in such a long time that it tricked people into thinking it was just so damn good, when in actuality it was just kind of normal, right? It was a 7 out of 10 in my opinion. And then it's now the viewership is dropping off, and it's because that's kind of worn off, because it's like a beaten dog, man. It's every single iteration of every Star Wars that came out, people were excited, or maybe they were cautiously optimistic, and then it just wasn't good again for like the 10th time in a row. And now people are finally deciding, you know what, I don't really care to watch it, because Obi-Wan was the last ditch effort for me. I was like, look, I love Ewan McGregor. I'm excited for this series, even though he released the freaking video saying, "Oh, racist! If you're racist, don't watch." I'm like, "Oh shit, no, please." Ewan McGregor.
How much do you think they paid him to say that?
I honestly, I feel like that's almost like a marketing thing now. It's just like, well, if you say this, then it'll be more name recognition for the show versus actual people wanting to watch it. Because name recognition is all that matters when it comes to sponsorship and marketing now. It doesn't really, return of investment's not even a thing, it feels like, anymore. But yeah, I was really excited because I was like, at least if I see Ewan McGregor on screen, I will enjoy that. And then I just didn't. Because Reva was on screen 90% of the time and she was awful.
It was a bait and switch, really. She was the main character of that series.
Yep. It was
as they always do with these things. It's like, really, all these characters exist to do is just launch a new character, and fool you into thinking it's going to be about them, but it's not. And with Star Wars, yeah, man. Like, I remember when a new Star Wars movie was like a thing that everyone was excited about. Like, holy shit, there's a new Star Wars film coming out. That's exciting. Now it's just like, what has it been reduced to? Just a bunch of irrelevant TV shows on a streaming service that's gradually dying by itself. Like, that's it. That's how much the brand has fallen. It's worth nothing now. And, The Mandalorian isn't even getting the numbers that Book of Boba Fett got, and nobody even liked Book of Boba Fett. So what on earth are they expecting to get out of this?
The way I see it is, how did you fumble a football so bad? And now look, I don't know what it takes, but I feel like, and this is me being maybe pretentious, but I feel like even I could have lined out a better storyboard for the sequel series than what they came up with. And it's just got how do you fumble at the 1 yard line? Like, you have all this universe that used to be canon. You have Kyle Katarn, you have the Jedi Knight games, you have all these books to go through, you have all this like really colorful lore, and then they're just like, nah, we're just gonna make up our own thing. And it's like, oh, and then it was terrible.
Yeah. Like, to use a football or soccer like analogy, it's like you're on the 10-yard line and you've got like an open goal in front of you. Like, how could you miss?
Yeah, and I don't.
That's what they did, though. It's egos. It's trying to push like political messaging into it. It's having no firm plan of what they were going to do with this sequel trilogy. All of those things combined together just created an absolute disaster. Well, like you see in the background behind us, just a bomb, an absolute box office bomb in the making.
Yeah, dude. It just didn't work out, and now I find myself not even realizing when Star Wars is coming out.
I didn't even know.
Yeah.
I said that in my video, and I swear I meant it. I didn't even know that season 3 of The Mandalorian was even out until someone mentioned it on Open Bar. I was like, oh shit, that's back. The Mandalorian's back. Oh,
I didn't even know there was 3 seasons of it. I thought there was just the first one, and then there was Boba Fett. I didn't know there was 2 seasons of The Mandalorian. I was like, man, I can't believe this. And it just goes to show. And then Andor being a character that was already gone, like, that's the weird strategy. Even though I did not watch it, but I've heard it's a relatively good show, but the character has already been established in Rogue One and he's gone. So like, what is the point of me watching this when I know he's gone? What, I don't understand.
There's not going to be a huge amount of stakes there, because we know he's going to survive until Rogue One, and then he's going to die. So like, what's there to get invested in? So yeah, it was a shame, because like I said in my video, it's probably the best thing that they produced in like the whole of Disney Star Wars. It's actually like well made, it's smart, but who cares, because it's so obscure and it's based around a character that no one cares about.
Yeah, and that was my point with Obi-Wan is all they had to do was hire Ewan McGregor's ass and bring him in and put him in front of a freaking like maybe a desert or like a green screen, and then bring on Hayden Christensen and put him in a suit and just let them hit each other with lightsabers for like a few episodes, and it would have been amazing. That's all they had to do. Just it's like I said, it's like the goalpost thing. It's like, how did you miss? Like, and what they did to miss, in my opinion, was bringing in Reva or whatever, because she was just so irrelevant, and the acting was awful, and the story was stupid. And I'm just like, why is this? And half the screen time was dedicated to that character. And I'm like, why? It's called Obi-Wan.
Again, you know, when you saw Obi-Wan and Anakin face off in Revenge of the Sith, it was epic. It was over the top. It was like an incredible finale, I guess, to like this simmering rivalry throughout the previous 3 movies. And then when you saw it in this TV show, it just felt rushed and cheap and just like very obviously done on a crappy little sound stage. It was so weak. You know, it was just such an underwhelming experience, and I didn't even like the idea of them doing it in the first place, because I knew they were just rewriting history to make it happen.
Right.
But like, if you're gonna do it, God, it has to be something epic, and it was just crap. It's just garbage.
They had him face off with Vader or whatever in like episode 3 or 4 in this random place. Then Obi-Wan ends up running. Then they had him face off again, which I didn't even end up finishing the series. I just watched the YouTube clip. But the funny thing is it keeps going back and forth. It was like they were fighting, and it would go back to another thing with other characters in the middle of them fighting. And I'm like, what are you doing? Just have like a 20-minute thing of them falling and jumping and hitting each other and shit and force doing shit. That's all I need. It's very simple. I'm a simple man. All right. And I'm like, how do you keep screwing this up? And I noticed that it seems like even in the sequel trilogy, like if there's one thing that I can say about the prequel trilogy, aside from Revenge of the Sith, because I enjoyed it a lot, but the first movie, like, it's kind of boring. There's not really a lot going on. But the final scene and like the entire like 20-minute lightsaber duel with Darth Maul, Obi-Wan, and Qui-Gon Jinn is just, it's like my favorite thing. I could care less about the movie, but I wait for that and I watch it and I enjoy the hell out of it. And that's all they had to do. That's all they had to do was have an epic ass lightsaber deal and get good choreographers to come in and make all this work. And they just didn't. That's the weirdest thing about the Obi-Wan and the sequel trilogy is it's almost as if they didn't even have a choreographer and they're doing like standard almost fencing stuff again. Like you can't go back. You were doing backflips and shit. You gotta keep the backflips and you gotta keep going crazy. Because for some reason they just went back to like this weird fencing, like boring style of, I guess, lightsaber dueling.
Yeah, and it's all hammered home with shaky cam. Like the guy, either the guy on the camera must have had Parkinson's, or just like they were trying to make it look really edgy and like kinetic by doing the shaky cam thing, and it was just annoying as fuck.
I've been wondering what the hell happened to static shots. I've been watching a lot of film and movies and TV shows lately, and I was watching Last of Us. And there's never a static shot. Even when there's like a scenery shot, you can tell the edge of the screens are kind of moving. And it's almost like, I'm like, why are they doing this? Is it some kind of attention thing?
Yeah. The static shot is very much a holdover from like the old days of TV shows where it was all about efficiency. It was like, just have a couple of static cams set up, ready to go. And then people, you know, it was just reverse shot of people having a conversation. You know, the idea is that like if the camera's moving even just a little bit, it's more cinematic, and so it looks more expensive because it had to be put on a dolly, you know, and moved around, and it's just simple as that, basically.
Yeah, I don't get it. I kind of miss it. I kind of miss just old cinema, and that's kind of why I've been watching a lot of stuff lately that I've been enjoying, and it's kind of got me. I guess that's why I didn't like Last of Us, the show, that much, is because immediately before I started watching it, I watched Terminal List, which I loved, which got renewed for a second season, I think, recently. Thank God. Reacher. I watched Reacher, which was kind of campy and felt like almost like early seasons of Dexter, which I enjoyed. And then I watched Tulsa King, which I enjoyed, which because I love Sylvester Stallone, and it was a fun show, and I enjoyed it. And then I watched Last of Us, and I was like, this is not as fun for some reason. And I don't know. It's just, It just seems like film, TV shows, and I don't know how long it's going to last because, like you say in your show, The Message, it's not making anybody any money. I mean, look at Little Mermaid. I mean, people are claiming that the downvotes in Little Mermaid is based out of racism, but if that was true, then Blade, any movie that had a black actor led movie, Creed 3, which is doing really well in the box office right now, would be downvoted. But why is it doing well? So it's kind of silly to me, and I don't know how long this kind of like message pushing like Velma bullshit's going to continue.
I think we're seeing the collapse now. I think this year is going to see a lot of people getting fired. Is going to see a lot of projects getting cancelled.
Good.
This, I think, is it.
Good. Thank
because
God.
they have lost a lot of money over the past couple of years with all this stuff, and they can't keep doing it because the money's going to run out.
Yeah, and eventually, you gotta go the other direction with it because they basically utilized every dollar they had and hired because I don't know if you've noticed this, I'm sure you have, but every time I see a writer for a new show or a movie, it's like a writer that has 2 credits to their name and it's like one episode of some random ass show. And I'm like, how did you get on a project as huge as this? And of course it's terrible every time when this happens. And I'm like, how did you get on this project? What did you do to get here? Because you're like the everything around it doesn't make sense. Like they have no resume to back up why they are here in the first place, and they're here. It's like Rings of Power.
Well, because their goal is like, well, we're going to have more representation. We're going to have more diverse people behind the camera and in front of the camera, but we don't really want to put in the long-term work to make that happen. So we just want instant results. So we're going to hire a bunch of people who've never done anything of any note in their careers yet, because they're just starting out, and just put them in charge of huge multi-million dollar productions, and just hope that everything's going to work out. And of course it doesn't. And it's not to say that these people suck at their jobs. They just haven't had the chance to get the experience they need to be good yet. And it's really unfair on them because you're putting them in a no-win situation where, of course, they're not going to be as good as someone who's been in the industry for 20 years. They haven't had the experience yet.
Yeah.
And so it ruins the whole thing for everyone. It results in crappy end products. It destroys their reputation before they've even got started because they haven't had a chance to prove themselves. And it sours everyone on the whole concept of it.
Yeah.
So
and
it's a horrible way of doing things.
And it's forced. I mean, it's like The Message. It's all disingenuously forced. And I feel like if they, talented people could intertwine certain things from The Message in a better way to make it more acceptable, but they just don't do it. They just force it. It's like when you see scenes in certain movies, and there's always that one scene in like a Marvel movie where it's like, don't let a man do a woman's job. And I'm like, why would you say that? Like that. Now everybody's angry because it's stupid, because no one would ever do that. And they just keep having those moments. And I feel like there's an opportunity there to weave all this in a smarter way. They just don't do it. Like, I don't care.
Movies used to do that. That's the thing. They used to be better written, and they could work all these progressive ideas in a way that didn't just piss people off, and it actually made you step back and think about it for a little bit.
Right.
Probably the only one that I can think of in recent years has been Arcane, the League of Legends show.
Yeah.
They did a pretty good job with that one. Good characters, well-written storylines, and it had a bunch of stuff that you might normally consider woke, but it was done in a smart way that didn't fuck up the story.
Yeah, and if you notice, have you ever had this happen? I've had it happen several times, where you turn on a movie from the 90s or 80s, and you'll notice there's a very diverse cast, and there's also the sexuality of some of the cast, which is it's implied but not spoken. And they weave it in and do a great job, and it does great. And you don't even think about it. And that's
because it's like they did it, and they didn't expect a round of applause for doing it. They just made it part of the story. Yeah, that was a crazy idea, but it worked. Yeah,
and Andrew in the chat says Top Gun Maverick had a diverse cast. It did, but the funny thing is, there was a really diverse cast as far as the fighter pilots, the students went, but Maverick. Tom Cruise's character kicked their ass, all of them, single-handedly, and it was great. And that's the thing is, I kind of get tired of directors and writers having this weird subverting your expectations thing. I don't know where that's fine in a lot of situations, but it seems like every indie director started going that route. And that's the one thing I love about Top Gun Maverick is it almost subverted your expectations for expecting your expectations for getting subverted. Because you're like, okay, they're going to make him sucky. He's going to be old. He's not going to have good reflexes. And then the entire movie, he's a badass the entire time. And I'm like, this is great. Thank God. Thank God.
Yeah. But like, look how happy it made people. That's what they wanted. They just wanted an aging hero that can go on one last mission and kick ass one last time.
Yeah, and that's all
too much to ask.
That's all we want. And I'm tired of turning on a movie and it's like, oh yay, it's Luke Skywalker. Hell yeah. And then he just sucks. And I'm like, oh yeah, well, this sucks. This is how his story is going to end. He's a crab, a hermit, and he's an asshole, and he doesn't want to have anything to do with the Force anymore. I'm like, well, this is awful.
Well, we talked about this in Open Bar just last week, and it was like this weird message that it's now putting across where it's like, never listen to your elders. They've got nothing to teach you. All their decades of wisdom and experience means nothing. It's more important that you have your idealism and your unshakable belief in yourself, because you're better. Even though you're like 16 years old, you've never worked a job, and you've never had any life experience of any sort, you're better than that. And that's a horrible, horrible lesson to teach people.
It is. And actually, I have a great point to speak to here in just a second, real quick. Disco Cobra says, pretty good amount of shows I've never seen. I just finished 4th season of You on Netflix. It's not too bad. It's like a serial killer drama thriller. Yeah, I tried to I watched the first season, and then I haven't watched it since, but it seems it seemed pretty interesting when I first watched it. Also, just purchased a complete series of Always Sunny and Buffy the Vampire Slayer. God, I love those shows. Granted, the later seasons of Buffy's kind of weird, but I do enjoy that whole thing as a whole. Thank you, Disco Cobra, by the way, for your giant $100 super chat. Yeah, dude. I was gonna speak to something, and then man, see, this happens every time I read a super chat. I don't remember what I was gonna say now. Damn, this happens every stream. I'm like, I have a great question that I'm gonna put in there, and then I just totally forget about what the question was.
Sorry, it will come to you like 3 hours from now, like when the stream's long.
Yeah, finished. I'm just gonna email you. I'm gonna email you like, hey man, what? So yeah, I thought about that random ass question. So oh yeah, I remember what I was gonna ask you. So what is your I feel like people hold you in high regard, and maybe you don't feel like you should be. I feel like you should be.
I'm a horrible person. They shouldn't hold me.
No, not personally. I'm sure you're terrible. I'm talking about like YouTube. What is your 5? And I know it's really hard to actually come up with your top 5, but what's like a top 5 solid films that you either always go back to or you consider like the peak of, I guess, cinema? Top 5.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be like movies that have the most artistic merit or anything like that. It's not like Citizen Kane or anything like that. But yeah, movies that are just personal favorites that I just enjoy watching and I happily go back to would probably be things like Predator, Terminator 2, Aliens, Big Trouble in Little China. Love that movie. And maybe something like Event Horizon for a little bit of horror.
Oh, love that. Gotta love Event Horizon.
Yeah.
God, it's great. Yeah, dude. That's a solid list, because most people would think, oh, it's gonna be something like artsy, like freaking Midsummer. God, I hate that movie. I hated Midsummer, and I don't understand why everybody loved it. And I was like, man, but I don't like it. I don't like it, man. Did you like Midsummer?
I did not. No, I consider it a really bad movie.
Thank God, man. Dude, everybody I talked to is like, man, I love how it was like it had like slow pacing in certain scenes, and it was artsy, and it was really colorful, even though it was a horror movie, and it was really bright, and you're not used to bright horror movies. And I'm like, oh, I don't care. It sucked.
Yeah, there's a reason that like horror movies follow certain tropes. It's not just because no one's got imagination. It's because like certain things just don't work in a horror context, and that's probably one of them.
Yeah, I didn't like it, and it was too predictable. It was way too predictable, and everybody was like, "Oh, but the Ari Aster, he's so great," and I'm like, "No, he's awful. This is a terrible movie." And I liked Hereditary somewhat. I thought it was fun. You know,
Hereditary I thought was decent.
Yeah, but God, freaking Midsummer is those scenes that were drone off like it's space, or it's like 2001: A Space Odyssey, where it just like plays a droning like keyboard note, and it just shows like the sun and people walking for 35 seconds, and I'm like, okay, like, and then there's no payoff. It's nothing's happening. I thought it was really weird, and
yeah, it's like, you know, trying to emulate shots like that from something like 2001 or whatever. It's like you're just coming across as a pale imitation of Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah,
it's not the same thing.
yeah, and like I love things like I love The Shining. I still love The Shining. I still watch The Shining like every year, and because I love Shelley Duvall, even though she was in a movie recently called The Forest Hills.
I honestly didn't know she was still alive.
Yeah, well, she doesn't look
her
like
in
she should
anything.
be. I think it's called The Forest Hills, and it just came out, and it's like an indie film, and it has Edward Furlong in it as well. And
Oh, wow.
yeah,
Another
I
person
watched.
I didn't know was still alive.
Yeah, I watched the trailer for it the other day, and it seems kind of interesting, like a B movie. But yeah, Shelley Duvall is old as hell. She's real old in it. And she's missing teeth.
Damn, The Shining was like 40 years ago, so
yeah, and Jack
she'll
Nicholson,
be like 70 odd now.
Yeah, and Jack Nicholson's old as hell. So
yeah.
And I don't wait, is he still alive?
He is. I think he might be retired from acting because I haven't seen him in any movies for years.
It seems like once actors get to a certain age, it's like Dick Van Dyke. I never know if he's alive or gone.
I don't think Dick Van Dyke knows either, but he's going to keep dancing no matter what. Like
he's 97.
Yeah, like I think there's something to be said for knowing like when you're just done and it's time to retire. Like Gene Hackman, I think he retired about 20 years ago. He's still alive, but he's just been enjoying being retired. You know? It's like, quickly.
It's that thing we talked about earlier. Is like, can you handle that? Because retiring is now you're done, like, and you're not, that drive and purpose is now gone again. So like, what do you? I feel like that would be horrible for me.
I think it must be really hard for athletes and stuff. Like when your career's over, when you're like 35, it's like, well, okay, I've got another like 50 years ahead of me. What the hell am I going to do now?
Yeah, they usually become us like commentators for sports, and like they work on Sports Center and they go to do all these other things, and it keeps them tied to the sport until they're like 70, right? Whereas, you know, a lot of these guys won't. And yeah, I don't even know, man. I couldn't fathom it, because I'm one of those guys that I want to be doing stuff until I physically can't do it anymore. That's kind of how I am.
Yeah, I would always want to have something that I was working towards. Like, I don't want to be working in some office cubicle or whatever, like for some company, but like I'd want to have something that I was striving towards. You know, like you say, it gives you purpose. It gives you something to keep you motivated.
Yeah, I think the only way I could cope with it is if I was a multimillionaire and could just travel to a new country every week. I feel like that's the only way.
I could live with that.
Yeah, I would probably just write music and just pay people to be in my band and then fund my own tour. And then maybe just pay people to come see it because it's going to be shit probably. So people in the crowd, you're paid to be here. You cheer now as I terribly play music. That's probably that's probably the route I would go. The Jared Leto route. I would just do that. Maybe create a cult like Jared Leto did for a short period of time.
Oh yeah, he had great fun with that.
Yeah, yeah. People follow him around in like robes and worship him, which is pretty strange. I'm gonna be honest. I don't really understand what happened there. Disco Cobra says top 5 horror movies for me is Scream 1, Halloween 1, Freddy vs. Jason, and Cabin in the Woods. Great.
Oh, that's great fun, that one.
God, I love Cabin in the Woods. And Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it says 2003 remake with Jessica Biel. Well, that's because you just like Jessica Biel.
Jessica Biel in a tank top with no bra. Damn,
dude, she was
special.
She was in everything for like a 4-year period. Like there was this movie called The Eyes, like eyeballs. Like The Eyes, and I enjoyed that movie a lot. She's like blind in the movie, but I think she had like superpowers because they were like an old witch's eyes or something.
Jessica Biel in like the mid 2000s, like honestly seemed like she was going to be like the next big A-lister. She was going to be the next Scarlett Johansson or whatever. And yeah, for some reason it never quite took off for her, and I don't really understand why. It's
because we got to the point where you cannot hire attractive women anymore.
Maybe.
Now, Scarlett Johansson is very attractive, though. And so is Jennifer Lawrence. And they were kind of in everything for a while. But they were kind of like the last like attractive actresses that were in really high budget movies, I feel like. Now we got Rose Tico. Her head is like the shape of a basketball, which I guess is attractive in certain cultures. I don't know. I don't know nothing about basketball. So I wouldn't really know. Did you see the new Jeepers Creepers remake or reboot or whatever?
No, I like the original movie. I thought it was pretty cool.
I love the original
horror film.
God, please don't watch it. It was a nightmare. It was green screen, and I mean, like, it was like a high school did it, like a high school team of like animators did it. It was so bad. It was It was just awful. And I regret it because it's not so bad that it's good. Like The Room, like you enjoy watching The Room. I do because it's just so goofy. And I'm like, I can't wait for this scene to happen because it's so silly. But no, it was just so bad. It was bad. And I feel like I missed like 2 hours of my life doing that. And it was sad.
At least you can make a good review on it though. So there's something.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You could totally do that. You'd be like, this is the worst movie I've ever seen. Well, I don't know. It might not be the worst, but it is pretty freaking bad. I don't know what they were thinking. And the best character was some redneck guy that just happened to be in, like, he came in halfway through the show and he was great. And they just, at the very end of this stupid ass movie, there's like 2 survivors and they have survived at this point. It's over. We survived, and they're on the roof, and then crows come out of nowhere and start like attacking the 2 survivors. And then the guy I liked, the redneck guy, falls off the building and dies, and then the other person lives. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I guess just kill the redneck guy. No one cares.
Not gonna lie, that seems like a pretty anticlimactic ending, man.
Yeah, it was really stupid. It was absolutely terrible, and they should be ashamed. PC culture drove the female bombshell extinct. Sure did, because you can't sexualize women, even though we weren't. Even though it's kind of biology to sexualize women. I mean, come on. I mean, Chris Hemsworth sexualized every day. He's got glorious abs. So
every dude who's in the Marvel movies has to get his shirt off at some point. You know, he spent these 6 months in the gym. He's going to show it off, and like the women are never expected to do that for some reason. Like,
and Jennifer Lawrence, I never saw her shirtless. Or not Jennifer Lawrence, Scarlett Johansson. She was never shirtless.
Nope.
Where was her boobies at in Marvel?
The closest you got, I think, was Scarlet Witch, and I think Elizabeth Olsen demanded that they make her costume like more covered up with each movie because she didn't want to show cleavage.
It's called being pretentious. I don't know.
Like slapping God in the face. That's what
How did these women get off on being so pretentious and being like, I don't want to show my boobies? That's more job opportunities. If it was the 90s, like, I don't know, man. I guess
it's like, you know, each gender, I guess, is sexualized in their own way. Like for men, it's like having big muscles and stuff. For women, it's like, you know, flaunting your cleavage, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like, you know, women can't have big muscles on screen. They're just not going to be able to get that. And so, like, what else do you have? Like, well, that's the thing that guys look for in an attractive woman.
Yep.
And so, yeah, what's the harm in showing that? If you're going to sexualize the guys in your movies, why can't you sexualize the women as well?
And it's like, it almost like gets on the political spectrum where it went so far in one direction where it came out the other, and now we're not allowed to show women at all. It's like, what the hell? We were free the nipple like 10 years ago. Where's my nipple? I did not see a single nipple.
I was promised it, and it never came.
I was promised nipples, and they're not here yet, and I'm frustrated, and I'm sad, and I miss it. Real quick, thank you, Fire PA. He says, "Hell to the Drinker. Been reading through Timothy Zahn Thrawn series. Can a villain like Thrawn potentially save Star Wars, or is this shite too far gone? Always enjoy the whiskey. Get on it, dog. On it."
Yeah, I think Star Wars is done as
a
franchise.
Yeah,
I can't see it coming back now.
Yeah, your video explained that in depth today. If you have not seen Critical Drinker's new video today, it explains that Star Wars is dead. I think that might be the title.
Pretty much, yeah. Dead franchise.
Star Wars is dead. And dude, I couldn't agree more. We're closing in on the end of this. I know it's getting late as hell in Scotland. So I do want to start wrapping it up for my boys. If anybody has any questions for Drinker in the chat, feel free to ask them now. We're 70 likes away from the like goal. We're closing in, and we got 300 away from Fight Milk. We got really close. Drinker might get away with it this time, not having to do it, which is great for him, especially having to go to sleep right after.
Yeah, it's going to end well otherwise.
Yeah. But if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask him in the chat. We're going to wrap it up here in a second. Somebody says have Count Dankula on. I DM Count Dankula. All right, he did not message me back. All right, come on. I tried. He's too important. Even though Critical Drinkers gets way more reviews, it's fine. It's fine. What do you?
Dank is a tough one to get in touch with.
Yeah, dude. Is he from Scotland as well?
He is. Yeah.
Why are you guys from Scotland? So, like, is Scotland just breed people that can formulate the English language really well? Because
I think we're just really cynical and we're really sarcastic, and it just plays in well
You have because you have really good written dialogue in your videos. The jokes are weaved in so well. And I was like, is this a Scottish thing? Just really like crude yet weaved in really well jokes.
It might be, yeah.
Yeah. It's not an Alabama thing. I just talk about like naked people. That's what like naked women, naked men, and that's about it. In dating, that's usually what I talk about. It's the only thing I can speak to because, like, look, I didn't graduate high school. I didn't go to college. I have no education, and that's kind of what I did. Unfortunately, I didn't have a lot going on in life. I didn't like school. I hated it. I hated school. I hated the formality of it, the structure of it. I didn't like the organization of it, and I just wanted to be done like all the time. And then eventually, I just stopped going one day when I was 16, and that was it.
I think now, like people don't need you to be some eloquent wordsmith. They just want you to be honest. You know, and that's why your channel's done as well as it's done. Like you give your honest opinions about things.
Yeah,
that's enough.
And the trick is, I don't feel like I'm smart enough to be disingenuous because I wouldn't know how to do that. So I'm just like, I'll just say whatever the hell I want to say, and it always tends to work out because I feel like people can relate to it a lot. Because most people are like that, or at least they want to talk like that, and they can't in the current climate of social media. Bieber's Unit says, "Drinker, follow me on Twitter. Don't judge."
I am judging you now.
Yeah. Matt says, "Camelot's from the streets." I appreciate you so much. And is there any videos? Because I always like to ask, and mainly for myself because I'm an avid watcher. Is there any videos you have planned for the future that are coming out, or that you maybe long-term videos that you've been planning out for a while, or something to that nature?
I am terrible at planning things. I literally decide on the day most of the time what video I'm going to make that particular day. So I don't have any things that I really want to plug or anything like that. You know,
you decide it day of.
More or less, yeah. Like, or I might like do it the day before, like watch the film that I want to review the next day, and then that's pretty much it. But I don't have a schedule or anything.
I do this thing where I batch film everything, and I'll batch film like 5 or 6 videos and then slowly schedule them out, because otherwise I couldn't mentally do it, because like doing one at a time, it's just too much. Do you have an editor, or do you edit your own videos?
I just do it myself.
Oh my God. Yeah. I got an editor last year and it like saved my life. That's pretty impressive. That's probably why the content's so consistent. It's because you've been doing it for so long.
Yeah, I think if I was trying to explain to an editor what I want and stuff, like, it would take so long that it would be easier probably just doing it myself anyway.
Yeah. Disco Cobra says, "What are your top 5 or so comedy movies that Critical Drinkers loves?" He says his is Scary Movie, Super Troopers, Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back, Anchorman, and Step Brothers. What a great movie, Step Brothers.
I'll second you on Super Troopers. Fantastic,
yeah. What is your top 5 comedy movies?
Okay, so Tropic Thunder, probably Hot Shots Part 2.
Dude, Hot Shots! Oh my God.
I think Scary Movie as well, and maybe Airplane.
Yeah,
I think those would be my top 5.
Which one is Hot Shots 2? The one with Charlie Sheen?
Yeah, they both got Charlie Sheen. Like Hot Shots 1 is like Top Gun ripoff, and then Hot Shots Part 2 is like Rambo. Yeah,
and he grabs the chicken and puts it in the bow and shoots.
Yeah.
Dude, I can't believe somebody else has seen that movie. I used to watch that movie so much, dude. God, I loved it. Well, hell yeah, dude. Make sure you guys says, "Drink, you want to be my editor?" No, it's not the wrong one. Somebody asked you if you want to be their editor. Come on.
I will be your editor, yes.
Yeah. Make sure you guys like the stream on the way out. 30 away from the big one. I also want to put out there that in about an hour I'll have another CAMELCAST with Quarter Black Garrett. Double feature today. Since I did an earlier one today. I do want to thank Mr. Critical Drinker for coming on, dude. Since probably the first day I decided to do this kind of format for fun, I was like, well, I have to message Critical Drinker. And I think I emailed you the first day I started it. So I appreciate you coming on and hanging out with me for a little while and drinking with me. It's been a lot of fun, dude.
Hey, man, you're just enabling me. It's great. Like, I've got an excuse to drink tonight, so thank you.
Yeah, and hopefully we can do it again in the future. And I'll be watching. And everybody in the chat, tell Drinker you love him, so it can give him some self-esteem today, I know I rely on that a lot. I rely on random comments to give me love. So thank you so much. And we're going to go ahead and get out here. I'm going to let him go to sleep because it's late as hell. A lot of people are asking, why is your CamelCast so early today? And it's like, well, it's because Drinker's in a different country that is not my country. And it is late as hell there.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know, it's like 1 a.m. here or something. So I'm going to have to turn in, sadly.
Yeah. So I appreciate you, dude. Make sure you guys like it. 15 away from the goal. Get the hell on it, doggone it. We'll have a second chance at Fight Milk tonight in about an hour's time with Quarter Black Garrett. Thank you, Shark Dentures, by the way, my Beaver unit. And thank you, Disco Cobra, for being the top dog. I love you. And Karis, I appreciate you. And I appreciate you, Drinker. We're going to go ahead and end it and get the hell on it, doggone it. Appreciate you guys.
Go away now.